Hey! Have you ever picked a fight with an immortal eldritch nightmare for the love of the game? Have you ever been kicked out of a ballpark for roughing the umpire after a bad call during your nephew's Little League tournament? Yeah. Well, congratulations! You might be a glory paladin. But what is a glory paladin? Well, grab your cup, sell out the arena, and make sure to book the camera crews because the king has entered the ring. Is there anything better than winning?
I win here and I win there. Now what?
And not winning to just anybody, more like taking the dub after pushing yourself to your absolute limits. Breaking your body over and over again in the pursuit of a single goal, to be better than you were yesterday. There's a sense of accomplishment from the work you put into that goal, and the best feeling in the world is coming out on top when you finally made it. And yeah, some may say that the greatest lessons actually come in defeat, and that real growth happens after you've been humbled by someone greater than yourself. But that's what a loser would say. GG easy, baby! Get good! I just remembered why I don't play online video games anymore. But there is something magical about the dedication it takes to become the greatest of the great. Michael Jordan, Muhammad Ali, Bo Jackson, hell even Peyton Manning and his ever-extending forehead were some of the best to ever play the games. And through a mix of luck, talent, and sheer drive, these powerhouses were able to carve their names into sports history. So that's the goal, right? Just substitute the basketball for a broadsword and the hoop for a demon. But while those guys may have been the greatest to ever play, we make sport out of death. But first, are you constantly fumbling through notes trying to keep track of your campaign? Is the time it takes to write down your thoughts wasted when you inevitably lose them in your sea of ideas? Well, luckily for you, World Anvil has forged the solution. World Anvil is the premier site for sharing campaign notes, keeping the table on task, and staying organized through a long session. And not just in the D&D sphere. World Anvil works with over 45 different RPG systems and is not afraid of letting you customize your own world. But maybe you're not a DM running a huge game, maybe you just need some innovative tools to help you write that dream novel. Well, World Anvil not only has the tools to do just that, you can share the worlds you've created and let others play campaigns in your setting. I love this site and seem to find a new tool every time I hop on. And if you ever get lost in the sauce and need a little help navigating one of World Anvil's tools, they've also provided hours of tutorials that can give you a little guidance. But the best part is that everything I've mentioned is 100% certified, bona fide, country fried free. So what's stopping you? Check out my link below and give World Anvil a shot to forge your next campaign. But as always, tell them Yimba sent you. A big thanks to World Anvil for sponsoring the show, and now, back to the video. So you want to be so good at killing monsters that Warner Brothers cast you in their new rated R version of Space Jam. Well, there's really no class that brings down the Slam Jam quite like a paladin. And while some paladins pray to gods or make oaths for the betterment of society, you're the only one that truly understands that ball is life.
That was the move that made LeBron cry.
This comes in the form of Divine Sense, which lets you detect celestials, fiends, and undead within 60 feet, so you always know who to direct your trash talk to. But it doesn't stop there. While there are times to lay into a challenger who is a bit too cocky, other times you need to take a knee for a fallen teammate. But luckily your lay on hands can get them back on their feet in no time. Now you have a pool of hit points equal to 5 times your paladin level that you can dole out in whatever amount you want. But if you spend 5 at a time, you can cure a disease or neutralize a poison. And while it's fitting to keep your teammates in fighting shape, you can use this to knock the disease out of an enemy so that you know you beat them at their best. Second level is here and we pick up a fighting style, but is really where we choose how our paladin will approach every encounter. Are you an infighter, an outboxer, or just a knockdown, drag-out brawler? Even though paladins can't smite with unarmed strikes, and one has to be my least favorite rule in this dumb dragon game. So instead, pick up defense, dueling, great weapon fighting, or interception to bring the pain on any nearby bad guys and keep your teammates in the zone. We also get some spellcasting, whatever that. Wait, did somebody say because we just got 2 big, beautiful D8s we can add on to any melee weapon attack by expending a first level spell slot. That extra damage comes in as radiant, which means fiends and undead take 1 more because everyone knows we gotta live for the game, baby. But don't forget that as we level up, we can add an additional D8 of damage with each spell slot maxing out at 5d8, and we don't have to call out those smarts until after we know the roll. So hang out and fish for those hardcore crits and we'll be rolling more dice than your 90-year-old great aunt with a Yahtzee addiction. 3rd level is here, and that means all those sit-ups have really paid off because your well-earned divine health has made you completely immune to disease. But speaking of divinity, you can channel some of that into your team spirit or pump up your muscles to a godly degree. Your Inspiring Smite allows you to distribute a pool of temporary hit points equal to 2d8 plus your paladin level to any creatures you want within 30 feet after a smite, while also deciding the spread. But in order to swing those incredible acts of athleticism, you first need to be a peerless athlete. This sends some of that sweet god juice running through your body for advantage on acrobatics and athletics checks for 10 minutes, and you can lift and carry twice as much weight as normal and jump 10 extra feet straight into the air. Whew, this is a big buff and lets you essentially deadlift an SUV while simultaneously dunking a basketball with your feet. But our oath to being the greatest baller around gets us a little extra magic to boot, so I guess we do have to eventually talk about spells. Being the #1 MVP means of course you pick up Heroism, making any creature you touch immune to being frightened and giving them temporary hit points equal to your Charisma modifier. But the real star of the show is Guiding Bolt. While usually a cleric spell, this gives you a fantastic ranged option that also grants advantage on the next hit for when you can finally close in and bring down that You also get Harness Divine Power to spend a Channel Divinity to regain a spell slot, but don't do that. Spend it to do a backflip up an entire staircase. That's way more fun. At 5th level, we get that extra attack, which is an extra chance to... But we also get 2 more Paladin spells. And while Magic Weapon kinda becomes redundant after the DM introduces those first +1 weapons, Enhance Ability can give any creature you touch advantage on all ability checks made with the chosen ability score. So you can share that God-given athleticism with Bear's Endurance, or help ramp up the energy of the crowd with Eagle's Splendor. 6th level is here and we finally get to do some real Paladin stuff, and like a flower child with extra crunchy dreads, we become an expert in doing so, your Aura of Protection grants every friendly creature within 10 feet of you a bonus to all saving throws equal to your Charisma modifier. Speaking of auras, did I mention we also get the Aura of Alacrity at level 7? This increases your walking speed by 10 feet, but also grants an extra 10 feet of movement to all allies that start their turn within 5 feet of you. Beware all DMs who have a Glory Paladin in their group. Hitting this level essentially turns your player from a knight on a quest to a one-man cannonball with a hankering for a... Did I mention speed? Hopping up to 9th level gets us protection from energy and... Oh man, do I love this spell. Haste is one of those incredible spells that is just super busted for no reason. Not only does it give you a +2 to AC, advantage on dex saves, and a doubled speed up to 80 feet per round, you also get an additional attack that you can use to lay down a... all at the low cost of possibly losing a turn if you drop concentration. But it's a badass spell to lay on a paladin and just too good not to be using all the time. And also protection of energy is there too, so that's nice. At 10th level, we get ourselves the Aura of Courage to give all allies within 10 feet of you immunity to being frightened, which makes sense because it does take a hell of a lot of courage to tell your family you're quitting dentistry school to become a pro badminton player. But it's 11th level where we pick up Improved Divine Smite. While you'd be right to be confused by what this ability actually does, it somehow does not improve your ability to but does increase your melee damage by a d8 of Radiant. Kinda stupid, right? Who is running this company? Speaking of mindless chimps, 13th level gets us the spell Compulsion, which can force all creatures within 30 feet to make a wisdom save and on a fail be charmed and forced to use their movement to come directly towards you. No better way to hog the spotlight than by stealing all the glory for yourself, it's literally in the name. But we also get freedom of movement, so that any willing creature you touch cannot have their speed reduced for an hour and are immune to being paralyzed or restrained, or can spend 5 feet of movement to magically shake off handcuffs just like the world's most annoying street magician. 14th level gets us Cleansing Touch to let you end a spell on yourself or a willing creature, helping you knock off a wayward curse or charming effect so you're always ready for the big game. But I want to talk about 15th level. Glorious Defense is an incredible ability, letting you spend your reaction to grant either you or an ally you can see within 10 feet an AC buff equal to your Charisma modifier against one attack, and then take a swing with your weapon provided you are within range as a part of that reaction. This ability rocks and essentially allows you a one attack use of the shield spell and an extra attack, all without spending a spell slot. With haste, that makes 4 attacks in one round of combat, which means 4 chances to lay down a devastating... 17th level gets us the spell Commune. No, sorry, that's Commune, like talking to God. Not Commune, like the place your weirdest aunt spent a lot of time in after college. Our version, of course, lets us talk to our chosen deity, but with skills like these, wouldn't it just be easier to talk into the mirror? But we also get Flame Strike? Really? Another cleric spell on the list. This lets you choose a 10-foot radius and 40-foot cylinder to lay down some divine justice for 4d6 fire and 4d6 radiant damage. My only complaint is how late in the game we get this spell, but does that not paint a picture of the world's nastiest overhand dunk? 18th level extends most of our auras to 30 feet, letting us spread the power of Supreme Glutes to the masses, but it's 20th level where we become a living legend. Now as a bonus action, you can activate your legend status to gain advantage on all charisma checks. You can turn a missed attack into an automatic hit once per turn, and if you fail a save, you can instead use your reaction to re-roll it for a minute. It sure does pay to be the best of the best, and I'm not just talking about underwear commercials. So is the Glory Paladin a first round draft pick? Well, it certainly lives up to its name. Really, it's just hard to go wrong with any paladin, but I think the idea of a guy so devoted to becoming the world's greatest slap fighter they accidentally became magic is incredible. I also think it expands on the concept of what a paladin oath can be, as instead of an oath to a cause or a person or even hate-filled revenge, your oath is mostly just to yourself. I've been joking around with sports analogies because that is what it feels the most like, but to me the Glory Paladin is just a person at the top of their game, owning the skill it took to get there, and I think that's really cool. And while it borrows somewhat from the Vengeance Paladin with those 3rd level spells, I actually think they both, but especially Haste, are a little more fitting here, as your whole steez is athleticism and whatnot. But I think this subclass is unique enough to justify its existence in maybe a way some don't. Now while I haven't touched on many bad subclasses so far, believe me, we'll get there, I would like to note that this one is far from it, despite what some people may say online. I think its abilities, flavor, and all-around feel make for a really interesting paladin as a whole, and for a gladiator-type fighter, you can't go wrong. So if you've lined your walls with so many trophies you can't remember the color of the paint, you regularly have to school monsters on who the real big bad in the room is, and have a hard time justifying wasting a spell slot to detect good and evil when you can just... Guess what? You might be a Glory Paladin. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you made it this far, I really hope you liked the video, and subscribe and like and do all those things to see more. Only one left in this round, but the poll will be out soon if you still want to vote for it. So be ready for that, tell me what you want to see in the comments, and I'll be back very, very soon.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive! It's alive! You know who this is?
No, who is this?
Toto? I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of The Game. We are an internet tabletop talk show and podcast brought to you by Dungeon Studios. We go beyond live play and dive deep into every topic from session zeros to campaign heroes. Tonight, yes, tonight we're gonna kind of do like an end of the year wrap up. We have a few things that either we haven't had a chance to talk about in the past several episodes, or some things that we just want to make sure we get out there to you before the end of the year. We have an update to an older episode of ours, talking about some DM resources and things for DMs to help you level up your game in the coming year. So with that, I'm just going to give a quick announcement. I've said it the last few episodes, but just in case you missed it, this will be the last one for the year. We are moving our focus to YouTube. You may have already noticed, if you're a regular of ours, we've been setting up our videos on YouTube to premiere. We have also been putting them on Facebook because that's where most of our live viewers were at, but we are shifting to YouTube. So make sure that you subscribe, like, and
you know what? And I keep saying, smash those buttons, make comments. I haven't seen them yet. But I know we're still catching up with broadcast times, and when we've asked people to smash buttons, it's been very timey-wimey.
Right.
We've had the Doctor Who special come out, so people don't want to see, they want to watch Doctor Who. But anyway, sorry, I digress. Go ahead.
So that is announcement number 1. Announcement number 2, if you watched our last episode, we might have made it sound like that was going to be our last episode of the year, but haha, we fooled you. We have one more, and then we're going to be off for December and probably the first part of January as we figure out any new show updates and things that we're going to be implementing for the new year. So we will have best of episodes playing for the remainder of the time, and you get to catch up on some episodes that you might have missed.
Yep.
All right. So with the announcements out of the way, let's start with our first topic of the night. Doc has had some interesting events and things that he's had happen in his games. I want to hear all about this. We haven't had a chance to talk about it during some of our prior episodes.
Yeah, we've bumped Weekend Games for a couple of weeks because we've had guests and we've been like hot on topics, but it's been really, really exciting. I've been talking about my Icewind Dale adventure where we've been on the opposite side of the fence. I don't know if you remember, everyone started as orcs, and I was actually playing an orange goblin war cleric.
Yeah.
And the events of Icewind Dale, our DM is running on a time clock. So our regular players already went through it where I was the druid, and I've talked all about this on the show.
That's right.
So those events are happening at the same time as we are now these bad guys. So it's been a heck of a lot of fun going along. And last we had left off, the one goblin picked up a mind flayer gem, and it started to influence their mind, right? So this really started taking things, off the beaten track.
Just to clarify, so when you say mind flayer gem, it's a gem with like a mind flayer in it that's trying to affect them?
Well, it was a fossilized mind flayer in a cave, right? And they went up and reached up and grabbed the stone face of this mind flayer, and it crumbled.
Okay.
And there was a compartment in the back, looked like the inside of a skull cavity. And there was a gem.
Okay.
And it was some kind of side gem that started talking to this goblin. And started, so it got very, very intense.
I want to steal this.
So then we were traveling along to our next location. And me as a hobgoblin, I'm a little guy. I'm always getting kicked around, but I'm always acting like, the tough guy, the little dog, right? So some goblins start messing with us, and I'm like, no, we gotta kill them. It was more like just like a random encounter kind of thing that happened. And they're like, nope, we got to keep going. And I'm like, no, we got to take care of these. And they're like, but they're your kind. You got to talk to them. Like, no, destroy everything. I'm being this like total war cleric, like kill. So we're going along, and they get us again.
So they're like chasing after you guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
They basically on their way after us. Don't forget, we were supposed to go back to the orc tribe and bring our treasure that we found. We're still like, F that. We're going to do whatever the hell we want. Right. We're going to be the new bad guys. So on the way, they attack us again, and Puglog gets killed. My orange goblin, right? So, and everyone's like, oh, and now I love when a character dies in a game. Okay. Right. It's the game, right? It's the game.
That's part of the game.
So, it's part of the game. So then it was like, I took off the earphones, turned off the mic. I said, I'll see you guys. And they're like, what? I said, I'm going to go make my tea, go to the bathroom, get a snack. And everyone at the table's like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that's the way it was in old rules. When you're dead, you're dead.
Yeah.
Like I had failed my saves, my saves to come back, all that had failed. Everyone was like, oh my God. I'm like, yeah, I'm dead. So I come back to the table about 45 minutes later. They're all giggling. Like, what's going on?
Uh-oh.
Well, your character doesn't have a hand. I'm like, what? Like, well, we had to get in the door. and they wanted a body part. And well, you were dead. So we used your hand. They're all giggling, laughing. So now I had taken being dead like totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm pissed off.
Water.
Now I'm like,
they desecrated your body.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, like what now? What now? So now they bring me to this shaman, this orc shaman, and he's gonna reincarnate me, not just resurrect me. He's gonna reincarnate me. Wow. And we're a huge bunch for like roll the dice, right?
Right.
So the DM says to me,
go wrong.
Right. So now I've been out of the game 45 minutes, come back. They're laughing at me for 20 minutes because I have no hand. And we get in a private Zoom room with the DM and he's like, go ahead, roll. And I roll ogre.
Oh.
And the DM is like,
right.
Yes. He's like, absolutely. You come back as Puglob, the ogre war cleric.
Hilarious.
Wow.
And it was awesome. And then of course we go into the next battle and on this, like, we're like still figuring out my features and looking up stuff on, what are my actions for this race, blah, 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 blah. But it was awesome. And we're having a great time with it. The orcs who were like picking on me now, I'm now the big guy. So it's awesome. I'm like having fun bullying them around because they've been bullying me around for like weeks. It's been great. It's been so much fun. And that's where like we had to be continued. Mm-hmm. We're back out. We're still trekking on to our next location. Wow. But it's so much fun. And just seeing the DM run Icewind Dale backwards and letting us play. The weird thing is we had a very interesting player discussion at the beginning of it, before I got killed, about when is like, I was trying to think of the movie. When is like the murder point when like everyone gets killed? What's that with Mr. Pink and Mr. Brown? What's that movie?
Reservoir Dogs. That's right.
Reservoir Dogs, where everybody's just going to kill everybody because we're all bad guys.
Mm-hmm. Like Shakespearean tragedy, basically.
yeah. We're all going to turn on each other at some point. When is it going to happen? and that's where we're like, we had to just like be open about it and not worry. It's kind of like magic items too. Like when people get magic items, they're sort of like keeping them for themselves, and people are like, hey, wait a minute. And when we were good players, we'd be like, hey, let's give that to the fighter. And now it's more like, I found this.
Yeah.
It's mine.
And we're playing it that way. So and it's been great because nobody's feelings are getting hurt when people are being intimidating and being mad at each other, because that can happen a lot.
Yeah.
It happens a lot in Vampire the Masquerade too, actually.
I bet. Yeah.
Without taking it personally, because they're playing fucking vampires.
Right. Well, role playing is such a big aspect of Vampire for sure. But I wanted to ask you, because it's funny that you mentioned with the loot and stuff that you said everything seemed to be like divvied up equally, and then now it's more like I found this, so it's mine.
Right.
And I've actually experienced the opposite, where we started finding loot where we're like, oh, this is mine. But the more that we gelled as a group, now it's very diplomatic. It's a hoard of things that we split evenly.
Right.
So that's really interesting to me that you guys are going the opposite direction.
I think the other thing for us though is playing online and playing on Beyond. We've been playing like 3 years now or whatever. Somebody's the note taker. So because someone's the note taker, that's you ex facto, we do everything as a group.
Yeah.
But it's funny because now that we're playing orcs, we're all like, no, we're our own, we're sort of on all missions now, not like cool. That's
cool.
We all have our own notes on this one. So that's kind of neat.
Interesting.
Now I did have a live experience, but I didn't know if I wanted to flip flop and come back to me for my Briny Botel live experience.
Okay. Well, I mean, what you've just told us is a pretty good lead into what I have to talk about today.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
go right ahead.
Getting to the point very quickly. Last night, I killed a player character in a paid game that was streaming live on Twitch. So that was interesting. I sent you guys some screenshots. Maybe they can be put on the screen. I don't know. of the map at
No,
the
before
time
you
that,
go too far,
yeah.
is this the first time this has happened? Where it was
Uh,
live on Twitch, all the qualifiers that you just said,
it's
paid
not
game live on Twitch.
the very first time. It's not the very first time. In fact,
Okay.
worse have happened actually.
All right, I want to ask this first.
But this was a good
How
example.
how many people were watching the stream live as this happened?
Oh, not a huge amount, maybe
Not
10,
a huge amount.
something like
Okay,
10.
just wondering what your audience was when this happened too.
And some of those people were us.
That makes sense.
No, that's fair. That's fair. To be
but
fair,
it will also it'll wind up on YouTube in perpetuity. So there's that.
right.
But yeah, it was an interesting situation. What we were doing was bringing together a new character into the group, and I had this very cunning plan, which was I'd been playing one-on-one with one of the players who was going to bring in this new character for about 5 or 6 weeks. We played his character once a week for 2 hours, usually after this show, actually. And he'd brought in this new character, and we played through his whole development from when he was essentially spawned through to the point where he was about to join the party. And that was like 6 sessions that we played. And towards the end of those 6 sessions, he went underground into what he discovered was a mine. Meanwhile, the player characters in the main group, which play on a Monday night on Twitch, they had entered the same mine, but from the other end. And they were moving towards each other for at least 2 weeks.
I think we've talked about this before, because I wanted to do something like this with my chronic adventurers, have a new party come out and rescue the old party that's been trapped. Go ahead.
Right. Then this was something along those lines that I was planning for. So what was in the mines turned out to be a silver dragon egg, as well as a black dragon that was guarding it. And so the first player, the individual that was joining the group, his character found the egg at the very end of his last session and also saw the dragon. So he was in a big cavern where this occurred. At the beginning of the next session, the other players, after some hula bala, they finally got to that cavern and they entered that cavern, at which point I switched back to the original character, and they had this kind of moment where they were all making perception checks to see who noticed who, if at all. And they're sneaking around in the dark, and some of the characters can't see. So the group kind of splits up at this point in this dark cavern with like acid rivers running through. And
I want to stop you right there. Split up.
Yeah, they split.
Ooh. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
They also, I mean, what I was expecting as the DM, because I've seen these players in action and they're pretty good. They scout the area. Now, oftentimes they do this with a familiar, which makes it very easy to scout the area. I mean, the familiar can fly, so it just flies around and comes back and reports, here's what I saw. And it's very easy for a familiar that can fly to make a stealth check. Now, at this point, they'd heard that the players that were in the dark, they'd heard the snoring dragon who was asleep. And they'd even kind of figured that out. Like, they'd made some checks and they'd kind of figured it probably was something that was big and asleep. I mean, the air had been moving through the last 2 rooms that they'd been through.
So they were sort of metagaming. They were metagaming that there was a large creature in this cave, but not knowing what.
They didn't know what.
Did you say that? Okay.
That's
that
my
would be fair.
Yeah. So then they kind of started splitting up and taking different paths through this cave. Now, bearing in mind the cave has lots of raised parts and low parts, and the low parts are filled with water that causes acid damage. So they discovered that pretty quickly. Some of them could walk on water, but at least one of the characters couldn't see beyond 30 feet. And another character was literally blind, but had not tremor sense, blind sight.
Okay.
Out to 30 as well. So he's only got 30 feet of vision unless he's in his druid wild shape, which he was not. So they enter this thing. They start, some of them are moving around one edge, another group kind of come across the other side. They get out of range of each other. They can't see each other. They start making noises. Then one of them, one of the 2 monks that's in the group, the 2 very different monks, this monk recognizes that there are some figures on a pedestal in the center of the chamber with this dragon egg, this silver dragon egg. And so she goes for it, but she realizes that one of these figures is wearing robes. And at that point, we hadn't kind of realized that she didn't realize the color of the robes, because dark vision doesn't have color, obviously. It was dim, all of that stuff. So she didn't realize it was a red-robed wizard, but she went for this wizard. And now, at first, I had described her as red robed, so that was my fault. And the red robed wizards in this campaign have been pretty evil so far for quite a while. So the expectation was that this probably was a bad guy.
I have to stop for 1 second. Where is the solo player now that first knew about the egg and the dragon?
Right, he's right there next to the egg with this wizard that he had hooked up with, who had helped him escape from Barakyle a long time ago.
So at this point, the other party hadn't known that there was another player on the field, or not yet?
Well, they knew that the player that was playing one of their characters was about to play two characters, at least for the set.
Okay.
But they didn't know what that character was. Actually, some of them did, because they'd watched the stream. So they kind of did have
wait, stop. I gotta back up.
Yeah.
So the new character being introduced was being played by a player who was already playing another character in the other party.
That's right. And they were going to switch positions, and he was going to retire the character that he had been playing.
Got it.
Okay, makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, so that was the general idea. And I figured that despite the fact that he was with this red wizard, who incidentally was a renegade and had left that whole society and people and so on, and had been helping this new character to get out of there, I figured that with a little bit of diplomacy, just a tiny pincy-wincy little bit, and the fact that she was about to save them from the dragon, that might have influenced things. But before that could even transpire, this monk attacked the wizard. And I can't remember if she knocked her out. I think she did briefly, yeah. So then we've got the other player who's playing two characters.
So wait, I'm gonna stop that, because this seems to be a critical moment.
Right.
She sees the egg in the dark, the
wizard waking up too by now.
Okay, and she sees the wizard, whatever, maybe red robes, maybe described wrong. Does she see the other character?
Yes. And to be fair, there's also a closet there as well, but she doesn't know what that is at that point.
Okay.
And why she just picks that one wizard because you said
because of the robes that she's chosen. So that's, I mean, okay, that's not completely infeasible or unfair. I think, I mean,
the dragon was waking up.
And now, okay, so by this point, the dragon basically wakes up, blasts the group with acid breath, takes out the wizard and the monk. They're both unconscious at one point, I think. It dealt 70-something points of damage with the acid breath. It was a very high roll, and I knew this was basically on the verge of a deadly encounter, but I knew I had ways of mitigating that, at least until now, because then the monk, after being healed, gets up and tries to kill the wizard, knocking her unconscious. So a little bit later in the combat, now that the combat's full with the dragon.
Wait. The monk gets hit by the acid and the wizard gets hit by the acid.
I think that's what happened.
They both go down.
Yeah, then they both get brought back up by their alternating parties.
Got it.
Okay, that's right, because that wizard was there with the other dude on the solo adventure.
Right.
So they come back.
I think the irony is that his other character is the one that healed the monk too. So he's healing both parties on both sides.
Right. See, somebody's playing both sides here too. So this gets even trickier. Okay. Okay.
Right. So the dragon, what does it do? They get to the point, basically right now in the game, we've paused it as they've bloodied the dragon. Okay, so the dragon's bloody now, and we had to stop right at that time. We had a hard stop, so we had to finish in the middle of combat, which was unfortunate. But at this point, the monk is right. So the wizard got back up. Now she's just been struck by this monk, which nearly killed her, or did kind of knock her unconscious. And she gets back up, having been struck by this monk, and just fucking magic missiles the shit out of her, which was me making the decision for a character to make a character-based decision in the
Right.
This was not a case of a monster knocks you unconscious and decides to kill you because you're already down.
Right.
You know, because in those cases, I feel like that's not reasonable. If you've got 5 other players, you're not going to attack the person that's on the ground. You're going to attack the immediate threat.
Right.
Right. But this wizard was immediately had realized that this party member had already attacked her. So she was like, I'll put you down. So
Absolutely. I mean, think about it. If it was like a tiefling and had hellish rebuke, that would have happened automatically. You know, that's like a reaction. So having that as a reaction, I don't see as anything, you know, or as an action that this character took or an NPC took is not something.
Can we just go back for a little, because now that I was following along up until this last thing that you just said. So we have just
Wait,
for.
Can I say it? Can I say it? Can I see if
I? Do you want to try to see if you're some? Sure. Yes.
Yeah. See if I'm following along. So you have the one guy who came in solo play, makes friends with this wizard who knows what colors his robes are. This other party comes in, and the monk says, hey, that wizard, don't trust that wizard. They get into a fight, they get hit with acid, both get killed. Boom. But then meanwhile, the player has a guy on both sides, heals the monk and heals the wizard. They get back up. The monk, meanwhile, there's a dragon. He says, no, I'm going to attack this wizard anyway. Attacks the wizard.
The dragon attacks the wizard, or the monk attacks the wizard?
No, the monk.
Okay,
the monk
that's where
says,
the
heck.
Yeah, so he ignores the dragon and attacks.
Ignores the dragon and says, I got to still kill, even though this player character just healed me and the wizard.
Right.
I'm gonna go.
Bearing in mind the player character used both different characters to do the healing.
Right.
No, and that's okay. That's okay. But I mean, above table, that player character knew above the table that this same player character is doing these actions.
Right.
So I think that becomes part of it too. Like, there's a point where you play dumb to what's happening above the table to say you're not metagaming.
Right.
But then there's also a point where things are happening where you have to kind of follow what's happening in the metagame.
Right.
I personally feel like, and I feel like
I feel that too. You know, knowing what's going on in the metagame is important. That's the current that you need to get on. Right.
And I think at that point, what you did with that wizard says now, Amber, the wizard says, the heck with this monk, I'm going to magic missile. This is like this is my go-to. I mean, if I was a player character and I was getting messed up by somebody, I'd say the same thing. Magic missile the crap out of this person. And then you rolled your damage dice, obviously, right?
Yep, and it killed her outright.
Now, when she got killed, she went to what, 0 hit points? And
she was unconscious. Was she conscious when I magic missiled her?
See, now this becomes, did you go into con saves? Did you do 3?
She did go into con saves, but she went into con saves twice, I think. There was the acid thing, which put her into con saves, and then she came out of that. I think the magic missiles killed her because she was at very low hit points, and they did more than half of her damage again.
So it was like an insta kill.
Right. It's a more than half. So then it becomes an insta kill without the con checks.
I don't remember exactly what happened now. It's fascinating.
Yeah, because that's what's going to be hard here to fit. Like, Doc, you go ahead and present your side, because I have a couple things.
No. That's what I'm saying. Where it's very difficult when these things go down in the moment, and then you adjudicate them.
Right.
And then you try to go back and tell them as a flow of events, and it doesn't always necessarily flow.
Yeah, it does. Right. It's fascinating. You know, you have, at the beginning of every round, you're kind of having to recap the last 2 or 3 rounds, and before you can move forward, so that everyone's on the same page. And you will maybe even do that with every player as you go forward, you know, on each turn. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if you operate like that. That's just what I do.
No, and then it became the point too with the insta kill rule. Do you go into con saves again? And personally, I don't think I would have, especially after this person just coming back from acid death.
So the thing that's most difficult about this, okay, so first of all, the person playing the monk is actually quite fine with their character being dead.
Okay.
They played that monk for about 3 sessions, so
they weren't attached.
They weren't super attached to the character, but they were quite attached to the mechanics of the character, I think. And to put things in more context, they'd just wiped the floor on the previous level of this dungeon. They just mopped it. They had shambling mounds, twig blights, needle blights, tree blights, guard drakes.
They doing super monk battle.
They smacked the shit out of him. I mean, this monk was having like 4 attacks around and doing like 10, 12 points of damage from each attack. So not necessarily hitting all the time, but certainly, wow, just dishing out damage. And so I think that they may have even gotten a little bit complacent. Like I was trying to do that, actually. I was trying to give them a sense of, okay, so you can beat everything. You think you're tough. Okay, so he's a fucking dragon.
Yeah.
Right. But it kind of overworked in that respect. I think they let their guard down way too much. And they entered this cave without really thinking very hard about what they were doing. And they were completely uncoordinated as a group. And that's when they didn't have to wake this dragon up. They really didn't.
They didn't have to, but it was definitely on the table that it could happen.
I want to hear what Amber has to say before I say anything else. I want to hear what Amber has to say.
Okay, I've been taking notes. I have a couple of things.
I have a few more things I've been thinking too about this situation. Go, Amber.
So, firstly, as the wizard, and you chose to respond with, what did you say? Magic missile.
Magic missiles, yeah.
Okay. And you didn't know necessarily that it would.
Wait, I'm sorry. Before the magic missiles, she cast Hold Person on the monk, and had her frozen for a while. And that was before I think she tried to betray her again. And it wasn't till after that she magic missiled her.
Okay.
That is big.
So here's my question: was there any chance at all before the magic missile? I don't even know with Hold Person. I'm guessing you can't speak.
Paralysis. Yeah,
okay. So even before that, then, was there any chance for the wizard to say, "Hey, I'm here on so and so's behalf," or whatever what I don't know. Like, was there any chance for that?
Right. I'm not a red wizard.
Yeah, I'm not what you think I am. Any kind of something to like give them an idea that this is not a bad red wizard.
Right. Well, I mean, I guess at that point we had discussed it a little bit to the point where we all kind of agreed that she wouldn't have realized the color of the robes.
Right.
So they didn't have any absolute knowledge that this was the case, but they decided to kill them anyway, or try.
Right.
I mean, I guess she could have done that, and I didn't think to do that earlier because I didn't think it was going to escalate to this.
Right. So that was just, I was just curious, like if let's say the wizard had said, hold on a second, even just that, just to hold on a second, and then they chose to like continue attacking, then I would say, okay,
right,
they're asking for it because they're continuing the violence.
Yeah. So I think that there was an equally big mistake on my part as the other player, in the sense that they attacked her because her character would have felt that she should attack a wizard who was in dubious circumstances. The circumstances were dubious, and they didn't know who they were. But there was a much, much, much bigger threat. And the wizard had during that sequence, at least, demonstrated that they were fighting the dragon and not there to help it. So that would, and fairly powerfully too. She cast lightning bolt twice. So she wasn't, meek. She could have cast that on the player character and decided not to.
Right.
In fact, it would have made more sense because it would have hit the dragon too.
Well, and that was going to be my next. See, and it's funny because I guess in a sense, it's not questioned so much as other ways that this could have maybe gone down, because the other thing I would have said was, instead of casting something that did damage to them, like she cast Hold Person, if your wizard could have cast something that was more of a defensive spell, or something like even just a quick heal to be like, hey bro, like I'm on your side,
Right. And this is where you get locked in, because I had a stat block that I'd built for her. Which had spells in it, and those were not the sorts of spells that she had.
Right.
And I've been using the stat block with the player who had been playing through all the prequels for quite a while, and so it would be incongruous to suddenly have different spells. But I mean, I guess I hadn't considered these things at the time, so that I got into it. I'll work my way around it. There'll be a way.
Yeah.
Usually, but
even
yeah.
so, yeah. Now I'm trying to see. I'm trying to think on the other side now. Go ahead.
I got to ask another question because I have this thing. These two characters in the story get hit by this acid and get killed. They're healed by clerics, magical means. How are they healed? How are they healed is my question.
Two characters hit by magical means. Are they alone?
No. You said that those two, the monk and the wizard, get hit by the acid, right?
Right.
How are both of them healed?
Healing word and cure wounds, I think.
What was the first one? I missed that.
Healing word.
I think.
Healing word.
I honestly don't remember. It was some low-level healing spell.
See, I think I don't know. I kind of feel like any of my DMs that in our circle that we flip-flop with would not have let people with acid damage go right back at it. Even if they had been healed back to hit points, they would have been something like your body is oozing or you need to get bandages or I don't know if that was something that could have happened where take both of them
in this case because this is a paid game and because all of my games happen in the same world. And because I have a lot of turnover with players, I have to run it as close to the rules as written as I can.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Right. And rules as written is they're back in action.
So
and I
get 1 hit point, you might as well have 100 hit points.
Right.
Which, no, you're right.
To me, it's silly, but it's just what I have to do.
Okay, I have another question.
So then there's my that's my next week. That's
go ahead.
The back to life question. So I get they're both healed, they get magically healed. I got that part.
Right.
Why does this monk not decide that the dragon isn't a bigger threat? I'm still I gotta.
Well, I can answer that one. I can answer that one because without even knowing the story or the backstory or anything of these players, anything, I would think that if I see a wizard and a dragon, the dragon is under the wizard's control, and if I can kill the wizard, the dragon may take off.
All right.
That's where my brain would go.
But then the dragon blasts acid at all of them.
Well, yeah, okay. So then after that, then I would, and here's
a double bluff. It's a double bluff.
So this was leading into at the time that the monk decided to attack. Did any of the party members go, whoa, what are you doing? Like, we should talk. Did anybody say anything like that?
No.
So okay, so that's.
Oh, maybe I don't.
Because I can tell you that if I
not
did
loudly,
almost any time I would take any action that I don't talk to the party about, almost always they'll go, whoa. And then with that, I will make the decision to go ahead or not. But at least the party is saying, ooh, maybe you need to think about this for a second. So I was just curious if that happened.
Now, I'm also intrigued now because this is just something an aside.
Quite sure of her actions at the time.
Mm-hmm.
An aside to this is a live Twitch game versus a Zoom Theater of the Mind game where you're not broadcasting.
Right.
I think that would have also changed the pace of this whole thing dramatically.
Puts pressure in places that you wouldn't normally have it.
Yeah, I had never I don't consider that because I don't play that way, but thinking about that, I can see now this player was like, I got to go after the wizard. What you just said, Amber, about they're still connected, whether there's acid being thrown or not.
Yeah,
but this is where I go back to this, seeing the metagame that this other guy is playing those other characters.
Yeah,
well, I mean, his metagame was to bring his new character into the party, right? So his character A and his character B, A who's already in the party and B who's hopefully going to join the party, both have some healing abilities. They have a lot of things in common, but they are quite different in their own ways. So. Yeah, it really.
Now I'm listening.
I have another question.
You said that the player, okay, because I was going to jump forward back again. That you said the player was okay with dying.
Yeah,
but we started this whole thing with, but it sent something else through the rest of the group. But I'll go back to Amber.
Right.
Well, Amber. Going back to, if the wizard wasn't telegraphing enough that like, hey, I'm good. What about the new player why
character.
did that person say like, wait, like this wizard's a good wizard? Or I mean, I guess they wouldn't know that
Good
the
question.
red robed wizards, everybody sees them as bad wizards, maybe, but to at least say like, hey, we're not against you.
He's with me.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm with him.
I think that probably should have happened.
Yeah.
And if it should have happened more clearly, I missed it if it happened.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can't remember exactly what everybody said, and I know there was a lot of babble and discussion, which you get,
Right.
between turns and what have you. But
And
yeah,
when you're-
I think that was not something that happened clearly enough.
Yeah.
If at all, between the group. And it's funny because you sort of think, well, a lot of the players had no part in this. They could have they didn't have any part in this actual downfall of this character, but they could have stopped them
Right.
earlier.
Right.
If they had known what was about to happen, they probably would have chosen differently.
Yeah.
I suspect.
I got one for you. So
I was frustrated because I had players split up all over the map that couldn't get to each other.
Yeah.
Because they decided to do no scouting at all before they entered the room.
Yeah.
So, and at least one of them is sitting there, just a target because she can see nothing and she's got light cast on her staff.
Oh, no.
So she's standing there in the dark with light, just this beacon of come and kill me, dragon, which it was planning to, but it never got to, at least not in that game. So we've got another half of the session next.
Oh, gosh. So, yeah, that's right. You're still mid combat right now.
Yeah. So
oh
it's
my
kind of
goodness.
terrifying where it's going to go. And at this point, what you touched on earlier, Doc, about discord and disharmony. Yeah, this has kind of caused some disharmony in the group, I think, because I think the new player especially really wanted to have a kind of seamless integration into the group.
And now
after
it's
playing 6 episodes to get to the point of having this character at the same level as the rest of the party and in the same place at the same time, just to be sabotaged like this is how they feel.
Yeah.
I don't know. Amber asked earlier, did they telegraph in that the wizard was with them? Maybe they needed to play that bit harder.
Yeah.
I mean, that goes to another question I had. That goes to another question I have. The solo player knew he was coming in to switch characters.
He did.
Did the other characters,
but he didn't know when that was going to happen or how, and he didn't.
But did the other characters know that?
They did through meta, yeah, and some of them have even watched the episodes of him playing through his other character, his new character.
Okay.
So yeah, I have feelings about that then, because I have many a time been in a game where we've added a new player, and we always have one or two already established players that play the lone wolf character or whatever. We've had this conversation before, the
Right.
grumpy, I hate people character. And so then you introduce the new person and it's like really off-putting because it's like, you just want to be welcomed in. We know that we want the player to join, but this person's playing a character that's like grumpy McGrumperson, I hate you. And it's not fun. So, at some point there has to be a little bit of that meta, like, yeah, my character's grumpy, but something about this character I will latch on to make it easy for them to join the group. Like,
right, you have to make that decision as a player to say, I'm going to let this happen, but I need to figure out how to do that creatively.
Right. Well said.
What is happening to the player who lost the monk? Do they have another character in the game?
Well, first of all, yes, they do have another character in the game, but that character is in a different location and story at the moment because they had to drop out of the game for a while, and we left the whole campaign where they were. So everybody made new characters and we started a new campaign at the same level, in the same region, and part of the same organization, the Burning Path. So these characters are new characters in the organization that the original character.
Right. You've talked about them before. Yeah.
Right. So they do have another character and can easily make, I'm pretty sure that she's got 100 other characters up her sleeve and can make a character in 5 minutes on D&D Beyond. So I'm not worried about that. And I think that she's pretty good about character death too. It happens, D&D is not D&D if somebody doesn't die sooner or later at some time or another.
Right.
The stakes are there, you have to have stakes. But yeah, I think the biggest thing here is that the player who was bringing in the new character feels that they feel negatively towards the campaign right now.
Yeah.
But
That
you
could
said they're still in
change.
the middle. Are they still in the middle? You said they're still in the middle of this combat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's
Yeah,
time
I
to turn
mean,
it around.
yeah, I was gonna say they're still at a turning point.
Yeah. Now, none of these characters has revivify or resurrection or anything like that, and none of that it's not available to them because they're in the middle of nowhere.
Well, okay, when are you playing next? Because you'll
So
probably
Monday
play
morning.
next before we ever cover, or before this
Right.
episode comes out, right?
Right. So there will be a part 2 to this story.
Okay, but if this, because this episode's going to air like the first Tuesday in December. So okay, so you will have played. Okay, so this won't be a spoiler then. What if there's a dragon? So there should be a dragon horde somewhere. And what if in the dragon horde there's something to help revivify, resurrect, whatever. Maybe not even like that clean of a solution, but there's something there that can help them.
Right. Yes. And I think about that with Curse of Strahd. Gosh, spoiler alert. There's a ring of 3 wishes sitting in one of those like 57 tombs that players go through door to door to door to door to door. And my players didn't find it, but damn, that is something that can be sitting right there. I think very easily.
When I was setting up this encounter and setting up the storyline originally, my original thought was to make it a djinn and give the players 3 wishes. How differently this went.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
And you guys have heard about when my character died, and basically I was gone for a few sessions while they went on this whole journey to bring my soul back and put everything together. So I mean, that's something that you could do too if this player is amenable to it,
Yeah.
I
think at this point
I also feel a silver dragon egg could be guarded by some silver dragon spirit, or to me a silver dragon is like 1 level below platinum. It's like it's
right.
So who knows what kind of magic could be involved.
Absolutely true. And in fact, there's a draconic sorcerer in the group, a lady who's just joined the party a few weeks back, maybe 2 months ago, I suppose now. She's been playing for a little while now, I think about it. And so she has a connection to this egg already.
There you go.
She was sent to get it by a silver dragon. So there's that element of it, and that can be brought into it. As for finding a treasure hoard, yes, I agree, but it's not in this room.
Yeah.
So I can't just dump you make a perception check. Oh, you see there's a potion of blah.
Right.
That I can't just drop things on them right now.
There was a cleric way back in the 80s when I used to play that had a parakeet, and that parakeet was in fact a silver dragon. It was an NPC cleric.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he had a little parrot, and we had no idea that the parrot was a silver dragon. It was a neat little thing that, a reveal we found out way into the campaign.
Right.
Wow.
I just neat.
That is so neat. So okay, Russ. So you're the player who died, the character who died, okay with their character being dead.
Seems to be.
So really the conflict here is just that the union
solo player
go very well.
Solo player is a little disappointed for how they're meshing in.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the thing is that this situation has caused a rift that how does either party trust each other now?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I personally think that's resolvable. I could play it.
Yeah.
I could find ways of playing it, but I feel that some of the views being expressed are very black and white, and a little bit too black and white in that respect, especially when you consider that it is a game and it's a narrative.
Right.
Well, I guess here's when that wizard is still alive that killed that player character.
Yeah, she is.
So that NPC's actions definitely set, it's like wind, and which way are people going to set tact depending on which way that wizard, kind of rolls at this point.
Right.
Maybe the wizard has I don't know. Does the wizard know that the dragon horde is in another room? Maybe the wizard. Okay, so maybe the wizard has, and obviously the wizard can't revivify, but the wizard has something again that can go a long way towards buying some trust, maybe.
Well, I mean, the thing is, the wizard has detailed and useful information on their enemies.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And that she's got stuff in her head that will blow apart the whole scenario.
Yeah.
Stuff that they need, and they're going to waste it by killing her, which they've already done once with another capture that they had.
Yeah.
They interrogated someone, didn't get very far on the first attempt, and they were like, "Oh, fuck it," and killed him. So, okay, there goes my carefully crafted NPC.
Yeah, I see what you're saying now. This was like a critical component, and it's turned into the bad guy for them. So
yeah. And in fact, what they're dealing with is someone who has left the enemy, and has crucial, useful intelligence on the enemy, and has.
All right. They're not going to see this for a while. If I was that wizard and I was playing that wizard, this wizard would now disengage, hide, and something else would become its benefactor. It's familiar, so that I would just take them off the wizard, take the needle off the wizard and put it on. Oh, this crow stops by and gives you this message. Who's this crow? Who's sending this crow?
Yeah.
I would just take him in a whole nother.
That's one way of dealing with it. I my brain went somewhere else, because if they're still in the middle of combat, and I don't know how you've described, or well, a lot of them, I guess, can't really see this wizard very well. They're not close enough, maybe. But if there's some identifying mark on this person that makes them realize, oh, they're not that kind of a red wizard, like maybe there's, I don't know, like chains on this wizard or something that makes it look like they escaped, like they have scars or they have some kind of a brand, like a traitor brand.
We did establish in canon in the game that she was not clearly a red wizard.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
So that's got to hold some water.
Yeah.
But
it's just that one player feels like they did not get the transition they wanted out of the story.
Yeah. It's interesting too, because like none of the other characters who I have literally seen fight red wizards over months, and have a lot of beef with them, none of the other characters attacked this wizard. It was only the monk that attacked the wizard, and she's only been in the campaign for like 3 weeks. And hasn't actually fought that many red wizards, if any, that I can recall. Maybe a couple, but still not many.
Yeah.
So they have much more reason to attack the wizard than she did.
So that could just be chalked up to like, I don't want to say inexperience. I don't know if this person's new, but just at least, like you said, like they didn't really go in very quietly. They all decided to split up. Like you said, there's kind of some actions there on there. Now that I'm, like I said, I like to take both sides here. So, I was checking out what was going on the DM side, but on the player side, if this person has only been playing for 3 sessions, maybe they haven't gelled enough with the group to know, like, I need to call out what I'm, if they're scouting ahead, then I need to like let them know what I'm seeing and only do recon, don't engage. And, I don't know.
They never had that conversation, which is funny because, I mean, they have these tactic conversations in Discord where they're talking about how we're going to use all of our powers together.
Yeah.
And then they don't do it. And I'm like, okay.
They have a plan, but it doesn't happen.
Right.
They have a plan.
And I think everyone
who sticks to their plans.
Right.
No.
I think that as they came into this new room, they got caught up in I don't know, the first of all, it was quite a vast space, but they were in the dark. And before they realized, people were moving out of each other's visual range, and then they started to sort of lose each other and they couldn't get in contact with each other because they knew there was something probably snoring. So
I have another question.
Use the message cantrip a little bit. Yeah, go. What's your question?
Now, up until this point, when everything went down, were you guys doing Theater of the Mind, or did you already have a map up?
We had the map.
Because I'm wondering, like you said, they kind of got all excited about like, ooh, let's check these spaces out. And so they split up. Whereas maybe if it was Theater of the Mind, they would have been kind of more present to realize, oh,
Right.
I can't see so and so. I can't see so because I'm too far. Like, but instead they have we've talked about this before in the game too. Like they have the map to focus on. So then you're right. It makes things harder as a DM because, well, now what you see is right here and everybody's getting all excited about what they see.
Right. I mean, I don't know if that was the case. I mean, maybe I'm overinflating the quality of the map, but certainly they'd started exploring it.
Yeah.
And they went in different directions to do so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the monk was the first one to split from the party.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other thing I see really happening here too, at some point, the acid comes out. You said this is a group that makes plans on Discord. They got split up, and it sounds like a rules is written group. Everyone was busy looking at their sheets, what they were going to do next when it wasn't their turn, and not paying attention to everything that was going on. And I find that this happens a lot in games where it becomes when it's their turn, that moves the action. That person, whatever they do, moves the action, and no one's paying attention to that moment as it's getting moved. And then it gets to their turn, and then they're like, "What just happened?"
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to do this because they had been reading this spell for the last 10 minutes. But meanwhile, something happened just before then that didn't help them realize they needed to. It didn't
click. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't click sometimes. I really feel like that hit this situation hard. When they got separated.
Yeah.
So that was probably a factor.
And I think that the rest of the group probably would have stayed together, but they got sidetracked because they found this structure in the dark, and then they started sort of investigating it, and then things started getting silly. There was this whole episode where somebody, in fact, it was the monk, stuffing the other player character's familiar into the crack in the side of the structure, which familiar didn't like very much.
No.
Right.
Familiar it was. So, it's hard.
I have to ask, were there any substances involved?
No.
Because we all know there's all kinds of snacks can be consumed during this game. Sometimes snacks take people, of course.
That's true. I don't honestly.
I can't not call it a snack anymore. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Call back to prior episodes, folks, if you don't know the inside joke.
So anyway, I had to ask that because I know our games sometimes get really derailed because
I've seen
someone's like having a good night.
For sure.
Okay. That did not play a factor in this.
I've redlined games like that in the past, but that was before I went, started working as a DM. So yeah.
But what I love
I still
about
think you're at a
this-
very good water under the bridge point for this other character and reintegrating. So go ahead, Amber. You said you love something.
No, I love that you can share this for this episode, Russell, because this is something, okay, as a person who, I didn't DM all the time. I was a long time player before I even attempted to DM. And what gave me the confidence was hearing real people say, I've been doing this for years and I made a mistake, and you're a paid DM professional. You've been doing this for years and you made a mistake. And that's what makes it easy. It makes it easier for people like me back then who went, oh, well, if they can make a mistake, then it should be okay for me to try to DM, right? Because right now I feel like there's so many new players. We need more DMs to start, learning how to do this, and don't be afraid to make mistakes because even we do it.
Oh, for sure.
Everybody.
And actually, let me back up, and not to say that you did make a mistake, but just that you are in a pickle of a situation where it could have been partly you, partly the players, partly a player, who knows. Yeah. But these are the types of situations that happen. Yeah.
Say that again, Russell.
I said I think it was a confluence of circumstances.
Right.
I think that the biggest mistake I made was assuming that I could get these two groups of characters who would at first sight probably react badly to each other to gel, because in my theory was they would have to work together against the dragon, and that would bond
a common enemy.
Right, a common enemy. And even if they had a sort of a truce afterwards, it would give them a chance to discuss things.
Yeah.
And they could learn things from each other, at least at that point. And then the player that had the new character could move that character into the group.
Right.
But I also
Well,
wanted this to be a milestone point in the story. What they don't know, and what they probably will know by the time this gets released, is that this is a leveling milestone. They're going to hit level 10 at the end of this encounter. So that's an aspect of it. And I wanted, when I do these big milestones like that, I do deadly encounters from time to time because it needs to have stakes.
Yeah.
You don't just get level 10 without facing real danger,
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Not everybody makes it.
Yeah, very, very true. Very true.
I'm
So-
interested to see how this is going to play out because, like I said,
I am too.
I
am
think
too.
right now it's actually a good thing that you guys kind of stopped mid combat because we can hash this out and
Cool it down.
yeah, cool it down. That's another good thing too. Yeah, it's time away from it gives everyone perspective to be able to look at it and react rationally instead of irrationally. And then oh shoot, I lost my train of thought. I just think this is
I'm gonna keep
example.
thinking about it because I was gonna say that was always one of my go-tos is to stop in the middle because it does help you backtrack a little bit. Russell, I think the one thing to your benefit here is you have that thing recorded.
Right.
You can really go back and see those phases and decide which way the phase is going to move, and the next actions of that wizard and
sure.
That's a big component. I know a lot of times when I play, I don't have it recorded, so it's always like,
yeah. And this will be a scene that I go back to and rewatch before I run the next scene because you definitely want to go into that with a fresh feeling of it, which is important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Amber, I have another exciting game I have to tell everyone about.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. There's so many games I put off while we had guests and stuff.
I'm so jealous I don't have much to update on my games, but I can't wait to hear all yours.
One of our Dungeon Studios writers, Andrew, invited me to a in-person game months and months ago for his birthday at Dragon Distillery. And I shared the whiskey bottle last week.
Oh,
if
that's
you guys
right.
remember, or you want to go back to our old show.
Uh-huh.
And we played an in-person game of the Briny Botel, which he wrote for Dungeon Studios. It's still being produced in our editor's room right now. But he upped it to 5th level instead of 1st level adventure, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And he kind of set everyone up, but everyone had their own little thing besides what was originally written in the module. Okay, because he had all his friends coming to play D&D. Some of them were experienced players, some of them were non-experienced players, but he wanted for his birthday to have everyone get involved. So I thought this was a really cool concept, right?
Okay, yeah.
And he was nice enough. He invited me, only knew me from writing for a year and said, I want you to come and be part of it all. Now it's kind of hard editing this and kind of knowing the murder mystery and knowing, kind of the murder and kind of knowing the NPC and kind of all of that going on. But it was so much fun. We sat down, he had an opening where we go up and we're still arriving at the Botel by water. This is, the boat gets attacked by a Kraken.
Oh gosh, at level 5?
Yes. So I see both of your faces. So I just stop.
I don't feel so bad now about this adult book.
Right. As I say, so we start with a Kraken, right? It's like, oh my gosh. So the whole thing goes crazy because you have, like I just said, experienced players, non-experienced players. I'm just like, don't want a metagame saying we just got to get out of here. Like, what do we even get on the boats? We need to get to the hotel and start this adventure. That's all I'm thinking in my head. Meanwhile, people are like, what can I do to it? How big is it? What's it? Does it have an egg? Can I make friends with it? Can I? It was like 3 hours. It was like, we didn't even get started with the adventure. Crazy. We finally get past the Kraken. Everyone realizes we have to get on boats and get away. We even have this one sea elf who's an investigator, right? We're going to have this murder mystery. He sets up one of the characters is the investigator. Meanwhile, I'm just this crazy, wild magic sorcerer. So who knows what's going to happen. they sent me just to blow up the place because I'm known to blow up towns and stuff. So I'm just hoping a wild magic surge is going to blow the whole thing up, which is kind of funny, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we finally all get in there. We meet this gnome. He takes us upstairs to the murder room where we're going to go find out this guy we're supposed to collect. We open the door. He's dead. It's a murder scene now. Oh my God, we're all there. This one character that's playing some kind of crab being just goes in, picks up the body, and walks out of the room with it. It's a murder scene. It's a murder mystery investigation. Like,
they contaminated the murder scene.
Like, just what walks, and this is exactly what I was saying, Russell. It was like he put everyone in initiative, and then everyone just went batshit. And everyone just started doing whatever they wanted to do during the initiative.
Wow.
Crazy as hell. So now, meanwhile, I'm in the room too. And then all of a sudden, by the time the crab leaves, now someone follows the crab. I'm the only one left in the room when it gets to my initiative now. Wait a minute. We just got here. We just got in the murder room. We've walked into the room to investigate. I know the whole adventure, right?
Yeah.
Everyone else has walked out of the room to follow the dead body.
Wait, are you the only player that knows about Briny Botel? Everyone else didn't know anything about it?
No, they all don't know. They're all there to, collect this guy, get his ring so that we can show that we've collected him to the royal family. Right. Him and in the ring are really the big things to do, right?
Right.
So we also found out that the body has a ring. So everyone's chasing out the body. Now I'm the only one in the room. There's another door in the room. I've edited the adventure. I know what's in the room, but I'm going to look anyway. Right?
I edited the adventure, but I can't remember. So you tell me.
I can't remember. But I'm investigating, right? And they just took the body out. Let me look behind this closed door. He's also said the room is half cleaned.
Half cleaned?
One room.
Okay.
Yeah, like half of the room is messy and half of the room looks like it's been cleaned.
Okay.
So I go into the bathroom and I do a perception check, and he's and I'm like, detect magic. He's like, no, you wouldn't do detect magic. I'm like, well, yeah, and Winnie, I would do detect magic. He's like, no, you wouldn't. You know what's going on here. So, well, okay. He goes, roll a perception check then. So I roll a perception check. Okay, you see something invisible, because obviously in the adventure there's something invisible hiding in the room.
Uh-huh.
Right. So now that was it. That was my turn. Then we go to everybody else who has this murdered body halfway down the staircase. Now the crab cuts the head off the body because someone else has been sent to collect the body and he wants the head.
Now, just to clarify, so the crab is an NPC run by the DM?
No, the crab is a PC played by someone else who really doesn't play that often.
And he's just taking the body and going. Okay.
Yeah. Because remember, I said,
to be fair, this is a perfect test play.
Yeah.
Right. This is like all sorts of crazy stuff is happening.
I mean, you got to railroad those players back onto the story somehow.
Right.
Not up to in this case. So hey, I'm curious where this went.
So anyway, I start investigating this room. By the time it gets back to me, I start investigating this room, and my skill checks are like crap.
Oh no.
So
you're just wandering around like, this looks great.
No. No, what ends up happening is it was a huntsman's suite is the name of the room. And in the room, there's all animal heads and stuff. And in the bathroom, there's this giant taxidermy bear, which Andrew and I thought was absolutely hilarious. I designed the map. So here I am putting this bear asset in the bathroom, absolutely hilarious. Here I have my mini in the bathroom on the map, the whole thing. Well, I'm investigating this statue. He has the NPC knock it over on me. I fail a strength check and a dex check and get pinned underneath it. No one knows. None of the player characters know. Again, we talk about metagaming.
Right.
They're all like, well, we don't know.
Yeah.
They're all like cutting up the body, talking to everybody downstairs in the bar. They've dragged the body downstairs. Someone else, one of the player characters, has walked out the front door and is now magically trapped outside. They don't know what the heck's going on. Go ahead. I'll stop right there for a second.
By the time you guys entered the Briny Botel, were you guys already like together as a party? Like you guys, your characters had already known each other? Or was it like you all don't know each other and just happen to be going to the hotel together?
We all don't know each other. We happen to meet on this boat that gets attacked by a
the
kraken.
Okay. Because I feel like some other characters should have been like, hey, where's that one guy? You know, at least if they may not know you're under a bear, but someone should maybe notice that you're missing. I don't know.
Well, that you have to understand too. My name was Jinx.
Yeah.
And they know I'm the wild magic sorcerer. And every time I'm doing magic, they're rolling this wild magic surge, and they're all afraid they're going to turn into plants or something crazy is going to happen. So the fact that I got pinned down underneath this bear upstairs, it was actually funny.
Yeah.
Now let's also talk about above the table. This bar has a thing called random encounter drinks, where they have a 10-sided die and you roll it.
Fun.
If you roll a 1, you drink a Minotaur.
Yeah.
Which is like this shot with like beef broth in it. Or if you roll a 2, you get a Jello
this is in
shot.
game or in real life? Because I think you mentioned in real life, right? There was a bar.
In real life.
Yeah. Okay.
In real life, it's a bar.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, while we were getting attacked by the Kraken, everybody's had like a shot or 2 or has had another random encounter drink.
Some beef broth.
So and Russell, I was asking, has this helped people's decisions, right?
Yeah, no.
So this isn't really helping people's decisions in game. And don't forget, this is also somebody's birthday. People have food coming to the table. So at this point, we take a break. We sing happy birthday. We have cake. We're laughing over me pinned underground. The family is like, wants everyone out of the house. Now, a bunch of people did have to leave. They were having this event in Maryland, in Frederick, and people had like actually driven there like hundreds of miles to get there, some people. So some people were leaving. Now, this was also planned by the DM, which was kind of cool because all of a sudden it broke down into like 5 people who were still playing. I'm still pinned under the bear, serious players, and the one was still the investigator. Right. So now everyone else, the crab and everybody else who was kind of like just talking on the side and the game going off the rails are gone. And we really start investigating. We get back in the room. We find these secret panels behind the secret doors, like extra perception checks we had to roll to get there. Oh, we also discovered there's some kind of magical trip device. So someone knows we know about the secret doors. There's a secret door that opens. You're 4 levels above, and
I like that.
The player saves the dex check and holds on to this door and swings and realizes that they're hundreds of feet above, which is pretty much a TPK in this first level adventure if you're not being aware, which I think is great, by the way.
Yeah.
If you're not aware. We get in the cave. Now, again, it's late. We've been playing about 4 or 5 hours. People have had drinks. My choice as the DM is I would have had low tide. We have access to get into the cave, where the ring we're looking for now. Oh, yeah. We've also found out that the ring was a fake on the body. The other players had found that out. So now we're looking for the ring. Metagaming. I know the ring is in the cavern in the back. I want to go down deeper in the cavern. The DM is keeping the water in the caverns up so we can't get to the cave. And I know this for a fact. So I'm like, hey, let's just go back and rest.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, meanwhile, there had been a fairy who had discovered the staff rooms earlier in the game. So the investigator decides he's going to go and investigate the staff rooms. He goes in the back and gets to the one staff room, separates the party.
Oh, no.
We were talking about this.
How
Russell,
many
right?
times have we told you don't separate the party?
Don't separate the party. Now, what's even funnier is Andrew knows that I ran Briny Botel in a test play, and I had someone leave the party, and they go in the back alleyway, and they got killed by the murderer. Because, of course, if you've set off those tripwires, the murderer knows you're there. You're going to go investigate where the main clues are. You're done. Well, obviously, this DM kills the investigator there. He gets killed right there. And all the rest of us are alone. we had been playing. I guess we were coming on almost 6 hours, and we decided the game was over at that point, and we were talking about the adventure as a whole. But one, I had never played 5e in person, so that was huge for me. I started playing during pandemic.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed playing in person with people. He had set up, everyone had gotten free minis. I showed them in our last episode, so you can check it out. And he had set up these maps with sticky notes, so we couldn't see in the rooms. And as we got to rooms,
then he peels it up. Yeah.
So we could move around and stuff. But it was so much fun playing in person. And I've been dying to tell this because I really feel like the game, our podcast has always been about real DMs talking about real games.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're out there and you are a real DM and you're a pro DM like Russell, and you want to come on our show and spotlight yourself and your pro DM ship, reach out to us. That's what we're looking for. We're elevating what tabletop talk is about. That's what we're really trying to do here. But it was so much fun playing in person.
I love that you got to experience that
with random shot drinks.
Yeah.
I was very disappointed, though. This is my conclusion. If you rolled a 10, you got to keep the die.
Oh, nice.
And their die was a black die. I think it was a Cthulhu die, because it had sort of like the beholder head or like the mind flayer head, where the 10 would be for the 0. But no one rolled the 10 to keep the die. So that was kind of sad and all.
The whole game. 6 hours.
No, and for the drinks that everyone had, no one rolled the 10 to keep the die. And hats off to Dragon Distillery in Frederick, Maryland, because I have all my allergies. I had actually visited previously with my family, and they let me bring all my own snacks.
Oh, that's nice. Okay, so I'm going to go on a little rant and tangent here, because same thing. I can't have gluten. So anytime I go to places, I always bring my own snacks, because 9 times out of 10, when you go anywhere, it's all fried food and deep fried. And so I bring my own snacks, and every once in a while I'll come across a place that's like, sorry, you can't bring your food and snacks in here. And I'm like, what am I going to eat? What am I going to drink? Like, it just drives me insane. So that is very nice that they let you do that.
Yeah. That's what I say. Hats off to them for being aware of that and being cool about that. So, and I did my part too. And I got a gyro and took off the things I couldn't eat on it, because I felt like I'm also obligated, if I bring something, to order something I know I can eat. Like, I can't eat some French fries, so I'm going to order some from them.
Right.
Like, I try to do that too. So thank you again.
I have another role-playing story if you want to hear.
Well, I was going to say we should probably take a quick break.
Keeper of time. I am keeper of time. I'm looking at that clock.
I was going to say we should probably take a quick break. And then when we get back, you can share your story, and then we'll do a little bit of a wrap up.
Roll into the topic.
Into the topic, and then I have a little question to wrap us up. So
cool.
All right. So everybody, we're going to take a quick break, enjoy some fun parody music, God and Angel. And I think there might be a little, ad for my channel. There was in the last episode, which I forgot to call out. So just in case, just want to share that.
Make sure, you know what? If there is a commercial for Amber, put it in the comments, and then you're helping us out.
Thank you. All right, folks, we'll see you in just a little bit. Hey folks, it's Giddis with our tabletop talk show, The Game. Did you know that I have my own YouTube channel? It's called Purdy Nerdy. What would you need it for? Well, Purdy Nerdy is a channel focused on world building for authors and tabletop gamers. Don't have time to prepare? Looking for something unique? Is world building a challenge for you? Why don't you outsource your ideation process? The Purdy Nerdy Talk Show interviews authors and DMs to get you an inside and in-depth look at where they get their ideas from and how they create. Authors like Journey Windrow.
Oh my, I have bouncing disease or something. And it's not how women think.
And Bob Magoo.
Shockingly, meth wizards are not the most marketable. of things. I write a series about a redneck wizard with a crippling meth addiction. 30% of people are like, oh my God, you have to tell me more. And 70% of people are like,
meth.
Okay, they back away slowly.
And coming soon, an interview with professional DM and co-host on the game, RKDM. Paolo Garbanzo, who you've recently seen on the game, shared on the Pretty Nerdy Talk Show his homebrew world Earth because it's 20% smaller than Earth. I offer tips that'll help you enhance your gameplay. Unique and fresh ideas to help you world build and create. Make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss out. Like this, or like this. Which side is it? This side. Thanks for getting pretty nerdy with me.
Yes, garlic knots. Don't ask my address again. Just deliver them anywhere. I'll come get them.
Who's this guy?
God! Oh, shit. You again. I was just ordering Domino's. What?
Good morrow, my friend. I have brought you good tidings from the humans.
God damn it. It's the angel of death. Haven't I told you to stop bringing me dead bodies here? You can't bring them into the kingdom of heaven, angel of death. There's a thing going on down there. If you kill people, just leave them down there, alright?
This displeases you?
Yes! Displeases me. What am I gonna do with a dead body, huh?
That's unsanitary.
Holy fuck! Who are you?
I'm Angel. Hi.
He's been here the whole time.
Angel, pleasure to meet you. Here, take this gift from the humans as a fortune of goodwill.
No, put it down.
Put it down.
Put it down. Thank you. All right, listen, I'm your boss, okay? You have to listen to me. If I say no, focus for a second here. If I say, don't bring a dead body up here, what are you gonna do?
Here.
No, stop.
Take this.
You have to stop. You're like a needy cat bringing birds inside to their owner. I am your boss.
You're not my boss.
Yes, I am.
He's your boss.
I'm definitely your boss. I'm everybody's. I made you. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
I am too. I'm not gonna get in a game of nuh-uh, yeah, with you, all right? I am your boss.
If you're my boss, then who's that guy?
Shit.
Classic.
Lucifer, get the hell in here.
Well. The fellas.
Don't you well me. I well people. Well to you, in fact, actually.
What's the problem?
You've been telling this guy that he works for you?
Yeah, a lot of people actually. It's not a big deal.
It's the biggest deal. That is the biggest deal of all. Everyone works for me and not you.
I fucking hate you guys.
Lucifer, my old chap, take this gift from the humans as a fortune of goodwill.
This guy is hilarious. Come on.
Why are you always making me climb in the smallest of places?
Well, Jerry, this is the best way to get to the podcast that we need to steal this week.
It's always
like we do every week on Mondays.
Mondays, every Monday.
Yeah, religiously.
Sometimes I wish we could just walk through the door, but yeah. Every Monday on where do they find it?
On Spotify, Apple, anywhere you can find podcasts. That's where we are.
I get so hot in these vents. I think they have the heater on.
Wait, Jeremy, don't move. Wait. Michael and Jeremy steal your podcast every Monday, wherever you get your podcasts and stuff.
We're going to take your podcast and we're going to do it
better,
faster,
stronger,
hornier.
Yes.
In an hour.
Or more. Sometimes.
I'm so hungry. We've only eaten maggoty bread for like the last 3 days. When can we get some meat?
It's hard to find ethically sourced food in these parts. If only there was some kind of animal that could talk and consent to being eaten alive.
Wait a second. Darglebark, aren't you animals?
Oh, yes. Darglebark can turn into all kinds of creatures, from long-necked leaf eaters to stripy clippity-cloppities.
Could you turn into, say, a chicken?
Ah, feathery cluckers? Yeah. Yes, I know all about cleathery cluckers.
And say you were to, like, lose a leg or an arm or both. That wouldn't be a big deal or anything, right?
In theory, Dagobah could regenerate using magic. Wait, why do you ask? Dagobah is not for eating.
But I'm so hungry. And you don't want me to starve, do you?
Do what you must.
Looks like meat's back on the menu. Fireball! Oh. Yum.
I hope you enjoyed that. But if you're finished, I would quite like to regenerate now.
Well, I mean, that was delicious, but, like, I'm not satisfied. You know what I could really go for, though? Some pork.
Like the roly-poly oinkers?
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't want your best friend Nick Thief to starve, would you?
No. Dagobah would never want you to be uncomfortable.
Fireball! Yum.
Dagobah is very pleased that you enjoyed that. But now that you must definitely be full.
Oh, yeah. You know what would be really good to wash this down with? Got milk?
The black and white moo-moos.
Oh. I am so stuffed.
Morning. Smells amazing. What's for breakfast?
Ah, try this.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's delicious.
Thank you. Dagobah made it all by themselves from an undisclosed hole in my body. It's a 100% locally sourced, ethical vegan product.
Watch it out, watch it out, watch it out.
Just like Mother used to make.
My foreign friends, this is the most excellent mutton I've ever had.
It's true.
It's not mutton, sir. It's turkey.
Don't be ridiculous. This is mutton. I know mutton.
No. It's turkey.
You're saying our king doesn't know mutton? Doesn't know his way around mutton? Our king knows two things. That's wetting beds and mutton. He's not very good in the wetting bed. But he knows his mutton.
Our king may not be the brightest, or the tallest, or have the most muscles. He might be kind of a bit dumb at times and not good with women. But if there's one thing he knows...
We hear you.
It's his mutton.
That's enough.
May not be very tall. No. I may not be very good with a sword.
Are you done yet?
But our king knows mutton, right?
Anyway...
I cooked the meal. I'm the chef. And I said it's turkey.
Are you calling him a liar?
Hold on. Are you calling me a liar, sir?
Sir? Yes. I'm calling you a liar. It's turkey.
Go on.
We're doing this then.
That's what you get for disagreeing with me. Death. Him too.
Right, no witnesses then.
Not mutton. This is mutton.
My lord, is there a chance that this is the mutton?
Oh my god. Oh my god.
He was right the whole time.
This is... He was right.
We slaughtered an innocent.
He was right the whole time.
Hey everybody, welcome back. I hope you guys enjoyed the break. Get ready for the second segment of our show because Russell's got a little story for us. And then we have a fun little thing we're going to do to kind of wrap up the end of the year with you and the end of the year with each other. So Russ, take it away.
We will not sing Old Lang Syne.
No.
We will not.
I'm not the best singer anyway.
Well, I'm very excited because my Sunday vampire game is back up and running again. Yay, I have players for vampire.
Very nice.
Yay. I didn't realize you didn't.
Yeah, we've been on hiatus for a little while trying to organize schedules. It's like trying to herd cats. You've got people from different parts of the world that all want to play at the same time.
Mhm.
So it turns out that like a 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a Sunday is a good time for me, for everybody else in other parts of the world. So finally it's happened. And we sat down, we were going to make characters for Chicago by Night, which is a module that I've ran many times and for many years in Masquerade. And that was the objective when we sat down. And then after a while, we kind of talked about it. And I suggested to them, what if you guys play elders who have been in torpor for 500 years and you wake up in modern Chicago? So our characters, we've got 4 or 5 very powerful elder characters who went into torpor, which is like hibernation for vampires, 500 years ago. And some of those characters are like 300 years older than that. So there's some pretty powerful members of this group. And so it's an interesting game because they've just woken up in a warehouse in Chicago and now they're discovering things like lights, helicopters, guns, cars, lighter fluid, cigarettes, stuff like this. I mean, in vampires are very afraid of fire. So it's terrifying.
There's a lot. I mean, geez, just electrical fires.
Yeah, right. One of them managed to get a forklift operating kind of for a little while, which was quite fun. But I just thought I'd bring it up because it's a very interesting scenario for us to explore right now. And there's been some really interesting challenges with researching and playing characters from our world that are 600, 700, 800, 900 years old. And doing that research, this has been, incredibly fun for the players. They get to research real stuff, like, for example, one of the characters is a Spanish princess. So, stuff like that. Hold on, I have to go.
Russell, I think that is absolutely awesome.
Yeah. I mean, for those of us that don't love, here's the thing is I love taking in history. I love when people tell me history, which is why I like when you do the magical Q&As and things, but I'm so bad at initiating that myself. Like doing history research myself is like not fun.
Well, and I think there's a certain level of player when you're a role player and you understand rule systems and how they work and you really want to role play. I talk about my Red Death with my guy playing the monkey grinder. To me, like Russell's talking about, I researched that time period. It really gave me something real to role play, not just some power build that I made to play a game.
Right.
And that's what's really, really kind of cool. So you said you have this one is a Spanish princess because there's so many different time periods you can pick from. I think this is like
and
really
regions,
cool, Russell.
Right?
Yeah, regions and cultures. We
Russ,
don't hear you.
Quiet.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, I'm trying to talk and I'm on mute.
Yeah.
Two of the characters are Norwegian or Norse. One of them is like an Odinist. And he's a Malkavian of Clan Malkavian in the game, and the Malkavians are known for their insanity, and so he has visions of the future. In fact, those visions being true is what led them into torpor in the first place. So they're trying to escape a much bigger conflict that happened in their time. And then we've got Barry is playing a Templar knight. So he was in the Crusades and he survived for 300 years after that as a vampire and then went into torpor.
Okay.
So it's an interesting group. I mean, and we've got one other female character who is a Zemitzi, which are flesh crafters. And she does stuff like extending her fingers into people's bodies and draining their blood directly through her limbs. And
ooh, I love this one.
she has a Zuluoid form. If you've ever seen Gary Oldman as Dracula,
yes,
you remember that the scenes where he was this really tall demonic creature with wings and horns.
Yes,
That's basically the Zuluoid form for the Tzimisce clan. They can transform into something. So she has that. So far they've killed a bunch of cops, stolen a bunch of stuff. Haven't really figured out much about the modern world yet, but they're getting there. They're getting there. They've realized that
that's really cool too, because being from the postmodern world, it's you got to really buy into not knowing about things and how might play.
So it brings in the whole question of metagaming.
Yeah,
good metagaming, and it becomes very much about play your character. There's no point in doing anything else. That's just where it is. I mean, one of the characters.
Do you feel you have to guide your players, or when people make that jump to Masquerade, they're sort of that level of player already?
I've played Masquerade with various people who have played or not played things like D&D before. And I find that people with no experience get to it much quicker because they have no preconceptions.
Right.
And it's the D&D players that are reticent to kind of let go of their characters and their stat blocks, their stats and so on, and actually dig into who is this character and how do they react in this moment, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's interesting.
As opposed to reaction that gives damage or changes a dice roll.
Right.
I mean, say a reaction, a real reaction.
Yeah, I mean that stuff does certainly come up, and players in vampire players can be pretty what's the word I'm looking for? Not witty, but cunning.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of things you can do. You can dominate people by talking to them. Like command works in D&D. You have something similar called Command the Wary Mind in Vampire, where you can say a one-word command to do something to someone. But the checks are very different. And in most of the vampire skills and disciplines, they don't. The character who's the victim usually doesn't know that they're the victim, whereas in D&D they usually do know. You've had a spell cast on you, you're aware of that, whereas in Vampire you wouldn't be aware of it.
Yeah.
Now, I wanted to ask you, Russia, you said they're playing Ancients now.
Yeah.
Are they, as Ancients are they looking for something more ancient than them? What's their their thing here?
Their thing is that they want to free one of the sects, which has been kind of pushed down by another bigger sect. And they don't agree with all of the rules and things. So you have to know a little bit about the Vampire the Masquerade world. There's this thing called the Convention of Thorns, which was in 1493 or something, I want to say. And it was a point where it was kind of like the Magna Carta for vampires. They all sat down and agreed on some certain terms and conditions because the Inquisition was wiping them out. The Inquisition had figured out that there were vampires, and so they decided to instigate this thing called the Masquerade, which was there is no such thing as vampires. And so now everybody's got to live by this law and 5 other rules that go with that, the 6 traditions. And there's an organization called the Camarilla who basically you are born into. There's no way of you don't get to choose if you're in the
right.
It's like being born an American. You're automatically an American. There's no choice about what you are. But the Camarilla is a little different in that you technically aren't politically part of it until they make you, but they automatically make you. So you don't even get a chance to hear any alternative history. For example, there's all of the history involved. The Camarilla believe that they have to maintain their humanity and they have to maintain the masquerade so that everything can stay in balance. The Sabbat, who are the other major sect, they believe that they are vampires. They are evil. They should be evil. They were made that way. God wants them to be evil. They should be dominating the world. They're clearly superior. And they also believe that Cain, the progenitor, is going to come back at the time of Gehenna and cleanse the world of the vampires by draining them to gain back his own powers. So there's the story of Gehenna, and the Sabbat believe in it, and the Camarilla pretend like it doesn't exist, even though some of them know that it's true.
Okay.
So there's this sort of those are the two major conflicts. Then you get into the conflicts between the elders, who have immense disciplines and blood powers and stuff, and the anarchs, who are magically pretty weak, but they know technology. They know how to use the internet. They know how banking works. They know how, they can use all of those things. And they are very organized, and they have groups and societies. And
I was going to say the secret societies and stuff. Yeah,
right.
Great.
So there's this major conflict between the anarchs and the elders. And the anarchs want to form their own free state. And you don't actually have to be young to be an anarch. You could be an elder who is an anarch, which happens, but most anarchs are pretty young vampires for the most part. So you got these three major sects: the anarchs, the Sabbat, and the Camarilla. And the anarchs are sort of stuck between the two, being preyed on by both sides. But they also have the most ideal situation, in the sense that they are not beholden to anybody, and they can kind of do their own thing. But both of these other sects are constantly attacking them or plucking members from those groups, from that group. So yeah, and our new group comes from a time from before this kind of split happened, before these rules were created, and they disagree with them. And so they were trying to leap over this period of time by going into torpor and just waiting for it all to die out. But it turns out it's only just solidified and become even more ingrained in society since they have been asleep. So they're about to find.
So they're outside of the three groups.
Yeah, technically they are.
They're outside of the three groups that are before.
And the members of their group, their little group that they've formed, are from 4 different clans, 2 of which are on different sides of that fence. So the group is made of mixed blood in that respect. And on top of that, before they went into torpor, I said to them, I want you to come up with an oath, a blood oath, that guarantees that your characters will die for each other, that they will do anything for each other and potentially even die for each other. So they came up with a blood oath, and they have blood bonded their characters to each other. So they love each other, and they cannot act against each other. So that's great from a railroad point of view.
Right. Yeah. You don't have to worry about that team conflict.
Exactly. That whole problem that happened in the
no red wizard here. No red wizard here.
Exactly.
Oh man. That's awesome.
That's great.
I can't wait until we get into a vampire game.
Yeah. I decided, I've run this campaign a number of times, and I've always kept Chicago kind of static. Like whenever you go into it, the NPCs, these are the NPCs and this is what they're doing. And that's like the default point when you enter the campaign. And then as it continues, those NPCs start to react to the player characters, and other stuff happens, and they have their own plans and so on as well. It's all in action.
Right.
In this campaign, and to be fair, it's really hard to upset the order normally. Because some of the NPCs are so powerful, and you're generally playing low-level characters that can kind of get pushed around by them. So you're kind of a pawn in their game. In this case, I've opted for a situation where they can feasibly totally upset the order of power in the city, possibly even in the Camarilla. So it will be interesting to see how they do that, if they survive long enough to do that. They certainly have the capacity to do it if they play their cards right, but we'll see.
Yeah.
So I'm interested. Yeah,
interesting.
Interesting. Vampire with you guys.
Yeah, I know. I just want to try some other systems. I need to get exposed to some other things. So
no, I was in on when Russell was doing his timing, and that timing didn't work for me. I think it was a bus pickup here or something, and I was like, I'm gonna get in someday.
At some point, yeah. All right.
But man, Russell, you really made me, you're talking. You're making me think of the deck of many things for some reason. And our topic is supposed to be DM resources, right?
Let's lead us in. That's perfect.
And I wanted to talk about this again. This is another one I want to talk about for weeks. Of course, Wizards and Hasbro put out their deck of many things, which is a very, very popular, crazy ass magic item from 1E that seems to have just taken on a life of its own. And they seem to think that this is a really cool product.
Can I just say I will never ever buy it, and I will never.
That's what I was gonna say.
It scares me a little bit. Like, I would only use it if I have a table of very experienced players that I know well. That's it.
No, I was just going to say,
not even then.
At the Dragon Distillery for a one shot.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Everybody's doing drinks. Hey, let's play a game where you guys find the deck of many things and see what happens. Like
just for an experiment, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, now the other thing
I
I
found with us on our one shot.
Ooh, I like that.
No. The other thing I found really funny with that whole story, their printed cards keep failing. I guess people did pre-orders for this item.
Okay.
And they only received their digital copies. And then after they received the digital copy, they got a book, but they were told they were going to get a set of cards. But the cards have never came.
When you buy a deck of cards, you expect cards.
Yeah.
So I am shocked that this isn't, of course, Discord and Dragons, she was going off about it, they're done.
I haven't watched any news about it, but now I'm wondering because I did, we've been talking about how they're getting rid of print materials, or they got rid of, I think it was Penguin, the Penguin publisher, and now they're moving to something else. And so I wonder if that's part of the issue, is that whoever is issuing these cards for them. Anyway, yeah.
Just talking about DM update today. I just saw their other book companies now have rights to some of the original 5e books now.
Yeah.
So you can buy a book from someone else now electronically besides Beyond. I don't know how you bring that to your Beyond.
Right.
But no, and I actually saw books for different prices from different competitors now.
Yeah.
So that's what I think that really opened up when they broke that contract, was now that books can be sold by different people.
Right. Yeah.
So.
All right.
Well,
with that, as you opened us up to DM resources, I thought we'd share. I have together a list just in case, like, your mind goes blank, right? But I would like us to share as DMs, and at least in the last year, if not longer, what are your greatest resources as a DM that you would recommend to other people, whether it's, YouTube channels or websites or physical resources or whatever. What are some of the, and if you want, hold on, I was going to say, I'm going to start. You guys had your moment. I'm going to start.
Go.
Okay.
I was going to say, and if we don't cover something, put it in the comments. Go, Amber. Go.
Yes. Okay. So my number one resource is, there's a website called Fantasy Name Generator. It's just an online website that has pretty much lists for everything, if you or generators for everything. If you need to come up with an elvish name, a dwarvish name, if you need a description for a castle room, a dungeon room, if you need, I don't know, names for constellations, names for mushrooms, names for whatever, they have so many things on their website. And because I'm one of those DMs where I don't necessarily stick to, everything's homebrewed for me, so I have to be prepared for any eventuality. That one website can cover quite a bit that can come up in my games.
Now I saw it. Now that's some evolution I've seen in D&D Beyond. Now they have they use their generator for their name generation. Now
I've noticed that too.
Their game Neverwinter also uses the same names, and they're all from what's it's called? Xanador. Is that Xanathar's guide? There.
Yeah.
Xanathar's guide.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the back of that book has a whole list of names. Can I cut in a little bit further?
Yeah.
Because I recently built my own name generator in ChatGPT, because you now have the option to upload PDFs to ChatGPT, which it keeps as knowledge. And so what I did is I made lists of names that I approved for family names and lists of first names for different regions and things. And now I can basically say to my GPT, create a name for a guard from this city, this race, of this rank. And it can generate, using the terms and conditions that I've created, it will do that.
That's pretty awesome.
And it will spit out whole NPCs that are setting specific, because it has all the information. It can give you backgrounds that are incredibly deep, that draw upon plot lines that you've only hinted at in and it's
Now
great.
you have a paid Chat GPT. Yeah. Okay. So that's probably not possible
But there are,
with
but
the
no,
free,
there are.
right?
I don't know about that.
I think it will be very soon if it's not.
Yeah.
I think there are free options out there where there's something you can do stuff like that. But what Russell's talking about, you have a lot more user-friendly controls.
Right.
Yeah.
You may not get bumped. You might be able to only do so much generation on a free one. I've been delving this year really more in art. I was a big person. I always like to do my little bio pulp image of what's going on in my campaign. And I was always stealing Google images and, cut and pasting them together with my digital software. Now you can just go to an AI and get backgrounds you need and different characters you need. So that really, and I went to free ones. I really was using Night Cafe.
Right.
We just got to go in and get your free tokens every day. And then the other one I was using was Leonardo. Yes.
Is that what it's called? Okay.
Yeah. Leonardo AI.
Chat
They give you
GPT
so
has
many-
DALL-E built into it now too. So you can say, print me this thing, and it can read pictures. You can feed it a picture and say, what is this picture? And it will give you a breakdown, which is incredible.
Oh, that's cool.
And you can use that to build a new prompt for it to spit out another picture.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say it's been really amazing, like watching Night Cafe when they just started, because they had like four or five different generators running.
Yeah.
Now they have like 8 or 9 different generators running.
Everybody's using SDLX.
Yeah.
And then they have, if you can't even write a prompt, they have something that'll help you generate a prompt now if you can't write a prompt. So that it's exploded.
Yeah. And the quality has exploded too. In the last 6 months, when I started on Night Cafe, they were producing fairly okay fantasy art. It was okay, but it wasn't great.
Mhm.
And then when SDLX 9 came out, the quality blew through the roof. The types of stuff you could create and the textures and the detail just went through the roof. The photographic quality went wild.
Right.
And I don't think DALL-E is even close to it. I think Midjourney is probably still the best, but Night Cafe uses SDLX, which so does many other websites like DropClip, for example.
You know what I like about Night Cafe over Midjourney, and maybe it's just because I haven't had a chance to really dig into Midjourney too much, but with Night Cafe on their website, like I can see I can put in a little search for, I don't know, a swamp hag, and all kinds of other things come up that people have generated, not just what I've generated, which is really helpful to me, because sometimes I just need a picture just so that I can describe it to my players. I don't necessarily want to show them the picture and go, this is what the NPC looks like. But at least if I have something up that fits what I like, I can really describe it without having to generate it or anything like that.
It's fucking great for generating hell goats.
Yeah. Yes. Call back to another prior episode. I can't even remember. That might have been homebrewing monsters.
Undead goats. That's right.
Yeah, we came up with undead goats.
I'm totally
The other thing I like about the generator is I like working backwards too, where you might just give it a prompt like, give me a dungeon room. It feeds you the dungeon room, and then you work backwards and put that dungeon room into an adventure.
Yeah.
I've seen them make some pretty good isometric maps.
Right.
By asking, I just need a little simple isometric map of a temple, and you get some pretty good stuff.
Another fun trick is to take a map that you've made and maybe incarnate and feed it to something like DropClip and tell it to widen it and draw the edges, like say, okay, this is a section.
It'll fill in the blanks.
Fill in all the rest of it. And so you can get like 10 different maps from one map. And they're not always good, to be fair, but enough of them are to make it worthwhile.
Right. And we've talked enough about on our shows about like AI art and AI generation and Chat GPT. So let's talk about some other types of resources. Are there any particular YouTube channels that you guys go to for help aside from us, obviously, but
Nerdy comes up a lot.
Pretty Nerdy comes up a lot. Oh, thank you. But seriously, like I'll start. There's one that I love going to for puzzles and traps, and that's Wally DM. That is pretty much his entire channel is all about puzzles and traps, and they're really creative. And he only recently, I think in the last year, he came up with like he started putting these things into books and things. So, but just really creative puzzles that you can just drop into your adventure. So
I found him. I'm subscribed to him. So there you go.
Now I'm gonna say I do a lot of the mythology and lore D&D stuff, and like Jorfan has a lot of Ravenloft stuff out there, all kinds of stuff. There's Lunchbox Heroes.
I haven't heard of that
I want
one.
to reach out to them. Yeah, Lunchbox Heroes are really good. They do a lot of Ravenloft too. Hour of the Raven, who's been on with us, Gabriel.
Oh, that's right.
Hoping to invite them back next year. AJ Pickett, he's like really, really big, and he does like all the monsters. For some reason, no matter when I'm doing research as a DM, I always end up watching an AJ Pickett video. But the thing that really gets me is if you don't want to watch his video, is just find the old Dragon PDFs. Because that's what it's scripted word for word.
Really?
Pretty
Okay.
much. I mean, a lot of those myth log, they go right to the Dragon magazines as source.
Yeah. And oftentimes AJ Pickett is reading directly out of manuals and books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does enough research to find those things, and then he just will do like a 2-hour video that he's just reading straight from a book.
Wow.
And that's the thing though, is if he's going to do anti-paladin, he's going to find everything there is about anti-paladin before he does that video.
And there's like the guy Jordan with the PH. Have you seen his video?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what he was saying.
Jorifin.
Isn't it like the PH is silent? I think is what his logo is. Anyway,
yeah, the PH is silent. That's right.
But anyway, so the other YouTube channels that I'm going to share, not that I think you guys don't craft or create your own terrain and stuff, but you guys have seen that I do. So there's a few that are key for those of you who have seen the things that I've built. Black Magic Craft, the best videos. I love him because he'll go the spectrum from like really cheap and easy to really deep and detailed, huge builds. So you've got the gamut of everything, right? Bard's Craft and the Gamesmith are two others that I love watching. And then there's RP Archive. So for any of you that like to craft terrain, like to create, or you're curious how to get into it, I would definitely start with Black Magic Craft.
You're terrain curious.
Yes, terrain curious.
No, that's great. You know what, Amber, we've talked about all different web help. I don't think we've talked about the crafting YouTube. So thank you. That's a good one to bring up for this end of the year episode. Nice.
Thank you.
Very, very nice.
There's been a couple of times I've wanted to look up a rule or something, or an interpretation on a rule, and I've seen a couple of videos like that. But I find Matthew Colville as a DM is one of the most useful video YouTube channels around. That's probably my favorite one, but to be fair, I've watched all of them at least once, and so I don't go to his channel much anymore because there's not a lot of new content.
Right?
At least
yeah,
not relevant to me. He does make
now. Amber, you were talking about models. On Facebook. I follow Dungeon Craft. Professor DM. He's a big modeler. I feel like I do see a lot of his model stuff.
Yeah,
but he's so diversified. In his video production.
Right.
I feel like
on his
Facebook page, you get to see a lot of what his followers make.
Oh, that's cool.
But yeah, I don't know if you've seen his Facebook page because man,
no, I haven't.
Some of this one man, there was a picture today. This guy made a killer. It looks like some kind of Aztec temple. It's 3 or 4 shelves worth of campaign material that he wanted to share on Dungeon Craft. And it's all homemade stuff. And I don't know a lot of YouTube, but I know I see a lot of craft stuff on his Facebook page.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Check that out.
And I know his YouTube page definitely covers a lot of news. And he's really funny because I think he's mad, or a lot of his fans get mad for him doing news because they think it's clickbait. He does all kinds of videos. So he's still, hats off to him.
Yeah, that's so interesting because that's what I know him for is for news. He seems to cover it in a different way than like Dungeons and Discourse does. But Yeah.
No, seriously. If you subscribe to his channel,
I'll have to look.
He's releasing like 7 or 8 different topic videos at the same time.
Wow.
And what ends up happening with the algorithm is some of them become clickbait, and the others get dropped wayside and don't get followed.
Right.
He's talked about this on his show a few times too. I'm hoping to get him as a guest next year. It'd be cool.
That would be
for him
cool.
to talk about how YouTube works.
Right.
Have him talk about that edge of it of the game. His son's involved, and he has great patrons too. Give him all kinds of crazy gifts. Russell, he always showing really cool things that his players have brought to his table.
Right.
So he's a great resource. And I'm always talking about Dungeons and Discourse. Amber, you have to write her.
I'm going to.
But we have to find a spa near her, so she's getting a spa gift certificate.
But then people might get really disappointed when they see her and they're like, "That's not her. She's too mellow."
No, I really want her to get a spa gift certificate, even if she doesn't come on the show with us.
Yeah.
I want to see her relax and kick back. She's great. I've been watching her all year.
That's too
Gets
funny.
my heart pressure up. I can't believe it. Dungeons and Discourse. I love her.
Let's see. So gosh, I mean, we did our DM gifts and stuff where all the physical stuff, I mean, those are great resources that we talked about. I don't want to duplicate anything that we just recently did. But I will do a callback. Oh, sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say,
go
I
ahead.
will do a callback. And of course, I cleaned them up. So now I don't have one near me. But as a resource for a DM, and again, going back to things that you can do like cheaply and easily, if you're playing physical D&D and you don't have a lot of minis, I showed on one of our prior episodes, I'll find it and I'll put it up here somewhere. Those, you can get them on Amazon. They're from Litco, Litko. And they're just little circular bases with 2 little clear plexiglass holders. And then you can print off any picture from the internet and slide it in there. So you can have, you can have minis for your PCs. You can have minis for your monsters. They come in various sizes. So if you need a dragon, you just get one of the big Litcos and then print a bigger picture of a dragon. And just the easiest thing for your D&D table. Without having to stock up on a bunch of minis and, trying to play that. What's the game where you're always trying to play catch up with your neighbor and they've got all the cool things. Like you don't have to do
Keeping up with the Joneses.
Keeping up with the Joneses.
Quick question.
The old guy knows that one. Go ahead.
How easy are these to collapse down and carry in a bag or a car or something? Are they easier than minis? Because I carry minis around in boxes in my car and they get crushed and broken.
That is a good question, because when you buy them from Amazon, they're separate. You have to assemble them. And the way that they make these, they don't fit in such a way. You have to glue the base, basically. You have to glue the clear plexiglass to the base because they will just slip right out. So what I do is I glue them at the very bottom. I just do like little tiny glue dots at the bottom. So they're not glued all over the place and I can slide paper in and out. But if you were to take them apart so that they lay flat, you would have to glue them back every time.
Right.
So that is a good question.
I'm just keeping it in mind. I'm looking for a solution for my minis around.
Traveling minis. Yeah.
But they could fit in some, I feel like you could fit them in some kind of rack.
Yeah, totally. I mean, they're basically,
and then
when they're built, they're the same size as a regular mini, so that's kind of the thing is like, so if you're already traveling with minis, you're taking up the same amount of space.
No more difficult, but then probably are they easier to replace?
I think so. I mean, they're so much cheaper. Like I said, I could get 5 minis for like medium-sized creatures, 5 of them for like $10. And then you just print new pictures and put them in every time you need them. So as long as you don't need more than 5 of those on a battle map at once, you're good to go, and then you just order another set of the medium or large and the huge and,
Right. Cool.
Yeah.
But now we're talking about maps. Maps this year, we talked about Dungeon Scrawl Incarnate. We've been using as pretty much our map maker here at Dungeon Studios. Dungeon Alchemist kind of hit the scene this year, kind of got big. People are checking it out, experimenting with it. I haven't got a chance yet. I don't know, again, if you're out there and you're experimenting with Dungeon Alchemist, or you're from Dungeon Alchemist and you want to get on our show and talk about Dungeon Alchemist, hit us up, man. Because we haven't, I really don't know too much about it. That seems to be the big hot generator that people are on go-to. And then, of course, Roll20 has all kinds of maps, assets, and tokens for DMs available. I personally like making my own. I noticed we talk about different softwares that are great resources for DMs, like Canva, Photoshop, GIMP, Blender. I have to give a shout out to my Affinity Photo, which my DM Fred said, yo, get Affinity Photo. You don't need nothing else. Super cheap. I've been getting free plugins for fonts.
Wow.
Torn edges and does everything Photoshop and Canva and all them can do too. So, keep your eye out for sales and different software, what you're familiar with. But that's what always comes down to too, right?
Right.
What you're going to get familiar and work with.
Right.
And what those things can do. Apple computers have made a huge leap, by the way, folks. I don't know if you realize that now. They do a lot of immediate functions like backgrounds, taking out backgrounds now, making instant PDFs. That stuff really wasn't accessible a few years ago.
Yeah.
Simple editing tools. So a lot of that stuff, I'm going to say became resources for me this year because I can do something really quick.
Right.
And get something ready for a game. So don't be afraid to explore and use those simple tools in new and different ways on your technology.
Yes.
It's definitely a DM resource.
And now, because I'm the timekeeper and I don't want us to go too long, I'll let you guys do one more. If you have one, like, you have to say it, DM resource. And then I have one question to sign us off.
All right.
Gosh, one more big one.
Well, I mean, look, for me, it's ultimately, I got to admit, it's D&D Beyond, but I mean, that's the thing I use the most often. It's got a virtual tabletop in it that's free.
I haven't even tried that out yet. I need to try that out.
Absolutely need to try it out. It's in my opinion the best VTT, but that being said, it is a bit unstable, so it's the worst VTT. So I'm using Roll20 at the moment until such a time as D&D Beyond's VTT is actually stable enough to use consistently. But when it is, it's going to kick the shit out of Roll20.
Nice.
It's very good.
I think I got my one thing.
Okay.
D&D resource is Discord. Discord itself. 2 years ago, I joined just so I could be a test player at one site. I ended up becoming a test player at multiple Discord sites, met tons of people from around the world, started test playing, started writing adventures, and now I'm doing a podcast. Discord.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
it's community.
It's a community. It's a huge community. I would like to see our Discord at Dungeon Studios become a more active D&D community.
Yeah.
I know Russell's Roll Stream is really active. There are people there talking all the time.
Yeah.
That's what I came to Discord for.
Right.
But of course, I kind of got locked into this writing creative edge of it, but there's so much out there. We've had tons of guests to reflect the different aspects. Be a Twitch streamer, be a DM that your thing gets turned into a comic book afterwards.
Right.
There's so many things out there.
So many things.
That if you're not on Discord, you would not even know they existed. So
right.
Yeah. And I'm going to tack on to that because I was also going with the side of like a community. But something just happened literally like it was yesterday. I think it was yesterday. And I think you might know or be on this, Doc, because I think I saw you. But in Facebook, so I'm on a bunch of forums, whether it's Discord, Facebook, wherever. And on Facebook, there was a group of D&D folks in one group that said, hey, I need some help. Can someone, we've talked about this on a prior episode. Can I have someone voice an NPC for me for like 2 sessions? It's this voice. I need someone to do it like this. And is anybody willing to do that? And everybody like raised their hands. And all of a sudden there was so much interest. They decided to create their own group. Yesterday this happened. And then they created their own group in Facebook, and then they created their own Discord, and it's been populating like crazy because people are so willing and so excited to do just a little bit of voice acting for groups that they don't even know. This is all about community, right? Because nerds unite. I've talked about this before.
Yeah, I
How
did,
cool is
and
that?
I did just join this Facebook group.
I
because
saw
see
you
it's
join.
Loaded. I just because I belong to every Facebook group and every Discord channel I can possibly join.
Right.
But yeah, I was wondering what was going on with that.
Yeah.
So that's what it's about. That's how
what
that
it's
blew
about.
up.
Because I was thinking about it, my BBEG, it's starting to come up, and I don't do voices very well. And also I find sometimes that I don't know if it's a little metagamey on my part, but as the BBEG, I don't necessarily want to take it easy on them, and so I think I might need someone else to possibly play the BBEG for a session or two, or see how this lays out, or at least do some voicing for me, just to give
tell
them.
you about my Curse of Strahd experience?
I think so. I think you but go ahead.
My friend Steve asked me to play Strahd in his Curse of Strahd campaign because I happened to know one of his players, and that player didn't know that I was going to be coming in as Strahd.
Right. And I just think it's so cool to do something like that.
It was very, very cool. I mean, I've got the episode recorded, and I've got a couple of snippets of some of the best moments from it too. Like one of them decided to throw a spear at me, which was a big mistake.
So, it takes a little bit of me out of this because I'm running the game. I'm trying to figure out what 5 other people are doing. I'm managing, layer actions and all these other things. And then to put myself back into the brain of the BBEG and remember her voice and what were her lines. And like, maybe if I had somebody from this new community that I just found, we can give it a try. We'll see. Maybe not with the BBEG. I might try them out with something a little small scale.
I was going to say they kill somebody.
There are dangers.
Kill some.
I killed a player character as Strahd.
Yeah.
In a flashback. Oh, actually, it was a vision scene, so it didn't matter too much. But I did not get invited back.
This could be a whole nother episode talking about
it could be. So we'll see how this goes. But I just going back to community, you wouldn't find these things or find out about these things unless you're in the Facebook group, in the Discord group. Go find your people.
Well, no, and the other one is the number one DM resource, our podcast, The Game, because here we are talking about this Facebook group that only just got created in the last few days. And you had the scoop. And I haven't read it on Reddit or anything else. So if people want to quote us, go right ahead. Smash us in the comments and the subscribe. Whatever, man.
We got in on the ground floor, folks.
That's right. That's right. We're always ahead of the waves.
I love it. Yeah. All right. So I want to take us out, since this is going to be the last time we're going to be doing, recording an episode before the end of the year. I wanted to ask you, now that we've talked about all the rules and we've talked about all the different ways that we play, we realize we're this, Neapolitan swirl between the three of us. Is there anything that you will change about the way that you DM in the next year? Is there kind of like a DM resolution for you of something you're going to try next year? Like, what's your DM resolution?
Great question.
You're asking me?
I don't know. I can start if you guys need time to think, because I know what I'm going to do.
I need time to think.
Okay.
You start.
I will start.
Go ahead.
So you guys know homebrew game, in-person games, right? But with the second half of this year, I started Pretty Nerdy. I've taken on being chief project director here at Dungeon Studios. We've got our podcast. Life is getting busy. It's very, very, very busy right now. And I have never been a module person ever, or pre-written adventure ever. And I had mentioned to you guys that coming up, I'm going to be using our Dark Escape, which, is a Dungeon Studios thing, to kind of help. Also, it makes sense in the narrative that they're down in the deep underdark caves, but I think I might, once this campaign's over, I might just try to work through some modules and see. I'm curious, number one, and number two, I do kind of want to see if it helps with like the time that it takes for planning, and because I still got to read it, we've talked about this in the last episode. I don't have a lot of time to read, but I don't know. I'm just curious. So I think I might try modules next year.
Yeah.
I will go next because
Okay.
I kind of had my resolution already, and it kind of goes with what you were talking about. When I came back to DM after my illness, they asked me to do Curse of Strahd, which is really not my thing. It was more the players wanted to play the Gothic horror. I buy into it because I could buy into anything at all. And after doing that adventure and seeing the way they set up a Beyond adventure and Hasbro and Wizards and everything, I've wanted to run Tomb of Annihilation.
Yeah.
And I am running Tomb of Annihilation next year, has been my go-to. I've talked about before too, we're having players play 2 characters. They're each playing a dwarf because the dwarves are sending their own contingent. Y is going on at Chult, and then they're going to get to play an individual character because when we did this in Ravenloft, they connected their 2 characters.
Yeah.
Everybody was buddies or sisters and there's too much player metagaming with their own connections. So I want to see my players have to play a group of dwarves that are a party and they're all separate, keep together. And then they are going to have that individual person. That's the thing. Now, my other thing is to get more people in my game because there's no resurrection. And when people die, they're dying. Now, we're a regular Thursday night group. And those people that have 2 players, the dwarf and the other character, when they're dead, they're going to die. And if they're out a couple of weeks this year, that's my resolution because I want to play a game that way.
Yeah.
And
kinda
if it only ends up with
hardcore
2
rules, right?
yeah, and if only 5 people make it to the end of the campaign, that's the way the story went. And those people want to play, they're going to want to know either they're going to come and listen or they're going to want to know when the next campaign starts.
Right.
That's really my big goal now is to play a real good 5e adventure cutthroat game that goes by the rules. Wow. And that's the way Tomb of Annihilation was set up.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, do I want to get all, I hear there's a lot of missing maps. We've talked about these DM resources, there's all these ways to generate maps now and do all this kind of stuff for it. So, and put my own twist on it. And talking about adventures, Amber, you don't have to read adventures anymore.
Yeah.
You can find any adventure, a 5-minute synopsis, a 10-minute synopsis, a 15-minute synopsis. You already know what all the adventures are about. You can go read the sections you need to read as you go along. Section yourself out as your players are going through sections. Yep. You can get it all done. And the same thing, I talk about this Icewind Dale adventure. We rotate very frequently, and our DM said, I don't think I could do Icewind Dale. It's a big campaign book. I said, dude, there's tons of stuff out there. He came back to me. He's like, oh my God, I know the whole story already.
Right.
And when you're familiar with the whole story, the content becomes just like the DM's guide or the monster manual. You don't need every nook and cranny. You need to hear those 10 things that people changed when they ran it. So you know how you want to run it or what you're going to change.
Yeah.
That's really the big thing with a lot of these pre-written adventures. So
good. That makes me feel better.
That's Dr. P's personal game resource tonight.
I love it. What about you, Russ? What do you think you'd change in the next year?
What's your resolution?
Or what are you going to try?
Well, this is a good one. I don't have any really specific resolutions like that. I mean, I'm going to try using exhaustion.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's a good one.
Going to play with this year. And I do want to run Dragonlance sometime soon. I've been prepping for that for a while. So that's something I want to do. And it is interesting, I mean, because I suffer the same kind of issue that you do, Amber, in the sense that I run almost entirely homebrew original stuff, and running Dragonlance, whilst the idea of it is really cool and stuff, going through the book, it's very railroady. And there's a lot to work on. I mean, I've play tested some of the opening sequences and they're okay, but they definitely need some tweaking. And there's answers that are begging, questions being begged in the text that are not answered in the text that you have to create answers for or find a way around. And you don't want to be reading it for the first time when you come across those things in the middle of a game.
Right.
You want to be aware.
And one of the hugest things for both of you is the connection to the adventure.
Yeah.
You know, like with the Tomb of Annihilation, these dwarves are going because they're being sent by the ancient dwarves. Like, I'm giving them the super brimstone reason. And bet your butt, every other character is going to have a really good reason for being there.
Right.
That may not be in the book.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, I think that's really essential to give everybody something that, you know, is unique
Anchors
to
them.
your,
yeah.
And it's unique to the way you present the adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be
I think that
interesting.
really
I think,
ties it up.
and also, you know, maybe, you know, by doing modules and stuff, I might have more to I don't know. Would that be spoilery? I guess we'll talk about it, because it's like, then if I report that, am I doing spoilers for like an adventure that someone else might want to? I don't know. I'll just have to say spoilers.
That's what I say. You just say that in the adventure too.
Yeah.
And the way we do it on the game now, if we're going to be recording episodes and showing them later, you sort of have that drag that people aren't seeing it.
Yeah.
They're going to peek in. I don't see that as spoilers. I think it'd be kind of cool if we all did the same one. I say both of you do Tomb of Annihilation, and then we all have our own twist on it. I mean,
that would be interesting, but we would have to spend 2 years running Tomb of Annihilation.
That's what I'm saying. It becomes really huge. And that's when Russell and Amber, you said, what's a New Year's resolution? Russell said the three of us playing. So I also think that's on my list.
Yeah.
I think that's a good
The three of us playing.
Getting to sit down.
And I will play something else that is not Dungeons and Dragons. That is definitely a resolution.
I like that. I
would like to create or otherwise find a system to use for my science fiction world that I've been working on for like 12 years.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Something I want to do, because I have a lot of stuff there and a lot of really fun stuff, I hope. Yeah, so that could be really fun.
Remember, with a little effort and creativity, you will always have the prime advantage. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thank you so much, and have a good night. Have a good year, and we will see you when we come back in 2024 with brand spanking new stuff. All right, folks, have a good night.
ZTN, bye-bye, goodbye, all of those things. Bonsoir.
Goodbye.